There we go. Okay. All right. I'm Will St. John. Mike couldn't be here today. So I will call the meeting to order. Looks like you're all in order. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Okay, Dolores? Yes. Dr. Barton? Present. Rollins?
Yeah. 2 L's.
And Will, of course,
I get 2 L's too.
two L's, yeah. And, yeah, you do. Levi,
Here.
1 L,
One.
Stan,
Here.
Jacqueline, and myself, okay. All that stuff. We're done.
Okay. Next item is approval of the agenda. Anyone have additions, corrections to the agenda?
Could you repeat that?
Ask if anyone would have additions or corrections to the agenda. Okay, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Could we have a discussion on that first?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was glad to hear President Maturin say last meeting that we're following Robert's Rules of Order. But one of the fundamental tenets of Robert's Rules of Order is that a full and free discussion of any motion in front of the board is a basic right of the board of directors. Your duty today as the executive director is to stay impartial, of course, and provide that discussion leads to all the pros and cons, the negatives and positives of the motion so that we can make an informed decision. As such, I don't see how we could possibly pursue the agenda as presented without having it run into 4 5-hour meeting. If I look at what's presented as of right now, I don't see if we put a time limit on all these things, reports, in-home service, Mr. Avery's executive director's report, the new building project report, contracts that we're supposed to look at, all the committees, which I believe 4 or 5 have met since the last meeting. If we get to all this in old business and new business, I don't see how we could possibly accomplish everything we want to do in less than 4 or 5 hours. I can't imagine the board would like to have a meeting that long. That isn't even considering the public comment period, and that every person here in the audience can comment 2 minutes before anything happens and 2 minutes afterwards. If I do quick math, that would be 20 people. That would be 40 minutes worth of comments beforehand, possibly 40 minutes after the meeting. In which case, that doesn't even consider the board replying to any of those comments. What we saw last meeting with President Maturin replying to several of the commenters, and we talked about in the Policy and Procedures Committee that every board member should feel free to comment to any public comment or reply. So I don't see how, with a possible hour-long public comment period, plus all the normal things that are normally accomplished in a board meeting, I don't see how we could do that. Now, if we did not want to go into the 4 or 5 hour meeting, it makes perfect sense to me, logical, that we would ask to remove any optional presentations, which I talked to these 3 folks, that their presentations are optional. They were invited at the request of the executive director. It makes sense to me to postpone their presentations for the further date, at a later date, and far from thinking that their presentations are not important. To the contrary, since their presentations were not advertised at all, I would like to see more time to advertise to the public what these people are going to be talking about, have them filmed, and have their presentation put on the ACCOA board so that everybody who is not here today can listen to it. So I would motion to either change the agenda, or if a motion has been already made, to ask these folks to come back at a later time and make their presentation, because they show that it would be a 30-minute and a 90-minute presentation. That's an hour and a half that I don't believe we're going to be able to do today and keep the meeting under 4 or 5 minutes, not 4 or 5 hours, not even considering bathroom breaks for those of us whose bladders aren't what they used to be. But I wait to hear the public comment from my fellow board members.
I kind of agree. I think if the people can come back, maybe we could set up a special meeting the 1st of December for these presentations, take care of ACCOA business today. And if we should have time, go ahead and do it today, but well, there's a question. I don't know if I'm allowed to. There's a question out there.
Is there a motion in front of the board yet? I think I believe
You
that.
made one.
You may.
Then I would motion to move them to the very end of the meeting with the idea that if we do not have time and it's run into too long, that we would ask them to come back another time. So I would make that motion.
Okay,
I would second it.
all right. Any further discussion?
Sure. These individuals were invited, not by me.
Point of order, I believe this is a board discussion once a motion has been made.
I believe that I could speak, Mr. Turk. I
I guess
appreciate
that
it.
would be up to the chair, whether the board, if that, once a motion has been made, if any person other than the board can comment.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
see no reason not to get information.
there you go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The previous board before you sat invited these individuals to present. And that was voted upon. I believe your vote in the affirmative, Ms. Dolores, was also for these individuals to come and do a
Can't hear
presentation.
you, Lenny.
These individuals were invited by the previous board, which you were a part of, which you voted to invite these individuals to do a presentation,
At last month's meeting?
meeting before last. Okay,
I don't remember anything.
No,
It-
I don't think we did.
okay, well, please allow me to finish. So these individuals were invited to do a presentation. I do believe that our board president at the last meeting encouraged the group to come in. And then the meeting before that, in September, Lori Sauer sat right there and talked about how these wonderful people were going to be coming in and doing a presentation, and that we encouraged that people from the community to come here. With regards to the business on the agenda, this is the reason why we have subcommittees. These are the reasons why we give you your books a week and a half ahead of time, or a week ahead of time, so you can submit your questions so that we could make this process more efficient. So these are the tools that the board has decided to operate under, and you have been informed of this process. That's all I have to say. Anyone else?
Any further discussion?
Well, I would say that after the last meeting, when I was installed as a board member, the next day, Dr. Bob, myself, and the president, Mike Maturin, had a meeting, and we requested 10 items to be placed on the agenda. And I don't see any of them on here.
Jacqueline?
If I recall correctly from the discussion, when we asked these lovely people to
We
come.
can't hear you down here.
What I recall from the discussion is that there was limited space, which is why it was not made open to the public. If that is what I recall with NEMSCA, is that they did not want hundreds of people because they then could not present in an accurate manner. So that is what I recall. No. It's because of questions. They want to be able to present accurate information and be able to answer all of the questions. That is what I recall from the September meeting when we invited them. Which is why it was not put all over Facebook and social media.
And it's not the matter of accuracy. It's
I
the
believe
matter,
everyone has to have a chance to speak before someone speaks twice again.
Mr. Turk, with all due respect, I'm just clarifying a point.
I'll stand with my objection, Mr. Chairman.
Noted.
Dismiss.
it wasn't a matter of accuracy, is that the presentation that they have presented was for the board with public to review. Lori Sauer also stated that a public presentation could be done at a later venue, open to the public, so that it's not as an intimate presentation as this presentation would be. It'd be more of a 10,000 square foot or 10,000 feet above presentation. That's more so for the public. Not that there's going to be different information. I'm just clarifying that so that that doesn't become the thing.
Okay, any further discussion?
There's nothing in the last 2 minutes about anything about having this set on an agenda, and I have all those minutes in front of me. Regardless, at any time, any person on the board can vote, make an amendment to change, alter, move around items in agenda at any time, whether a motion before or after to set the agenda has been made. So I have a motion
You do?
right now to remove, change the order of the meeting so that these optional presentations, and I did ask all three of them before the meeting, are they optional? They said yes. Were they invited by Mr. Avery? They were. I would like to have the board act on my motion to move them to the end of the meeting as opposed
That's
to
where
where
we're
they
going
are right
as soon
now.
as we finish discussion. Any further discussion? Okay,
I have a clarifying question. So I'm not a voting member of the board, so would it be appropriate for me to share?
I think we can, again, in an effort to make sure the board has all the information it needs. Yes,
So I worry about being respectful of the two presenters' time and having them hang out here for an hour or 2 or 3 hours that we may not get to them. And so I don't think that's very fair to them. So have them stick around. So again, not my vote, but just wanted to share my interpretation that it probably would be fair to schedule that all over again at this point and probably be respectful of their time. And if they choose to stay, they could, but if they decide to go, then I'll be rescheduling that altogether.
okay. Anything else? Everyone had less to say as they want.
Well,
Okay.
right.
Let's see, do we need
A vote.
a personal vote or just the ayes and nays?
Ayes and nays.
Okay. Those in favor of moving the two presentations to the end of the,
I would request a roll call vote.
okay,
Could we possibly ask them if they'd rather stay till the end of the meeting, or if they would rather come back in December and we could have a meeting in December just for them? Could we do that?
I believe they're prepared to present, so
they are currently prepared.
you guys are voting
Right,
to bump them, so.
ACCOA business really should come first.
This is the ACCOA business. Okay. Sure, we can do a roll call vote. Pam,
Restate the motion, please.
Bob has made a motion to move the
Could you speak a
person.
little louder? We can bear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I talk softly.
I know you do.
Yell at me every once in a while.
I know, I know that, but please talk a little bit.
May I make a recommendation that because the hearing impaired, some type of amplification be added, please?
Pam, do the roll call, please.
Okay, Rollins,
Yeah.
Dr.
Yes.
Dolores,
Yes,
Dan doesn't get to vote. Will,
No.
Leroy,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Jacqueline.
yeah.
All right.
And you get a vote, Pam, as well.
And I get a vote. I have to vote no. Because they've been invited. And I think it's presumptuous of us to move them from one meeting, which was already in October. We had requested they be changed because we were instating new members. Just
And what's the result of the vote, Pam?
So, the yeses have it. We had 3 no's.
I can't hear. We can't hear anything she's saying.
The yeses have it. So our guests are bumped from the presentations.
Um,
May I make a suggestion?
sure.
I think we should ask them if they would rather stay for the next hour and a half or 2 hours, or if they would rather be rescheduled instead of assuming that they would love to sit here for 3 hours.
I assume that's fine. Yeah,
Well,
that's a good thing to ask. Ted?
Ted Vines, Habitat for Humanity, Northeast Michigan. I'd like to do my presentation. I can't speak for NEMSCA at a later date. If possible. I don't know if you're scheduled in December or you skip into the new year.
Yeah.
But I'd
Okay.
be more than happy to, because we cover 9 counties, we're really busy, so I would like to use my time to drive back to Alpena where my office is. And then
Okay.
drive back home where I live in Lincoln. So I'm back and forth, back and forth. So I would appreciate it if you would consider rescheduling at least Habitat.
Okay,
I will echo.
Thank you.
Francis Almighty, Communication and Development Director for Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency. We as well would prefer to be rescheduled at a later date because we have acting appointments that we need to have a location. Thank you
Fine.
for having us come though, and we'll get with whoever we need to get with to reschedule for a future date.
Okay.
And I'd like to note, I'd like to note
At
that
another time.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
what
We have.
I would motion that we make us a meeting in December, possibly the same, whatever, 3rd Tuesday in December, and invite these folks back, hopefully film
thank
it.
you.
And then
And it has not been a problem
Close for the Christmas holiday.
in changing our schedule, or at least my schedule.
Yeah, and we would have to look at our schedules to see if December worked or not, so we'll have to figure that out.
I'm sorry, Bob, you. What you said, I'm sorry, I missed something.
I would motion that we have a meeting on the 3rd Tuesday morning of December. That would be the 20th at 10 a.m. where they would be able to make their presentation. And if that, I believe we should have a meeting then anyway, whether they can attend or not, but I would still make that motion.
Let me survey, because that's so close to Christmas. How many board members will be in town on the 20th? Pam, you're out
I'm gone.
and Jacqueline's out. And I'm out.
And I'm out. Well, I mean,
We're gonna have trouble with the quorum for that particular date.
Assuming Mike would, we don't know if he would be able to attend. do we?
No, we don't. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. We don't have a quorum.
Could we do a week
We
ahead of
we
time?
can, we can try another date. Let's do that at the end of this meeting. And because this is gonna be complicated.
Yeah.
Let me make a comment.
Sure.
The time that we've taken trying to hash all this stuff out, it's already gone into 6 hours as far as I'm concerned. And it's not the first time that I've been sitting on a board more than 3 to 5 hours.
Right.
I've been on this board quite a while.
Well,
Yes, I'm aware.
question down there.
Jeff,
Yes, Jacqueline.
I would like to make a motion that we transition this to the programs and planning, and then we will contact NEMSCA and Ted and determine an appropriate time that can be scheduled that will meet with everybody's preference, instead of trying to plan around a very important holiday and try to take up more of their time. So the motion is that this would go to programs and planning, and they would meet and determine a plan and a date that works best for all parties involved.
Okay. Here, a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Further discussion? Well, let's vote. Ayes.
Ayes.
I,
One, I'm sorry, let's try that again. Those in favor?
I,
Yeah, those opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. The arrangements for the two presentations will be made through the policy committee there, yeah. So
Yep, planning and promotion.
planning, and that's why it's okay. Now, we're back to approving the remaining agendas. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as modified? Do I have discussion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Okay. Those in
second it.
favor? Oh, I'm sorry, we need a second.
I'll second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? Sorry, louder, okay. We're about to vote on the motion to approve the agenda as modified. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Same time, I'll say aye too.
I think they covered everybody, but any opposed? Okay, we've approved the agenda, last month's minutes.
Okay.
There is an issue. I nominated Will St. John to be vice president. I am not vice president.
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah.
Oh, we're back. Oh,
It's okay. But I nominated Will St. John, and I do believe that Rollins seconded, or no, Stan did second. But then we all voted yes for Will.
correction.
Thank you. Other than,
Other corrections?
Additionally, I didn't vote on any of those nominations.
I would like to comment on the minutes. Personally, I think they're very disrespectful. I don't think we need to put. I'm just gonna say nasty things in our minutes. I think we could say so-and-so brought up their concerns about the apartments and discussion followed. I don't think we need to say somebody pointed their finger and the board president interrupted, said, when I will not have you pointing your fingers at me. I think that sort of thing is not very professional at all. And I think a lot of this 3 pages could be cut down to 1.5. I just don't agree with putting these nasty things, I'll say, in our newsletter, in our minutes to go out in the newsletters. So I don't know, that's. my
That was by
opinion.
request.
Pardon?
That was by request by Leroy, that we
It
would
was-
have everything in there that had been approached by the board, by the members of the
Right.
public.
And I know somebody asked for that to see what the comments was. But my concern is putting it in, like Mike saying, I won't have you pointing your finger at me. Couldn't we just say, this was, the comment was made that the board should maybe, the board is concerned, or she wants the board to be concerned about the apartments, and her concerns is that we don't need them. But do we have to go into this nasty stuff back and forth?
If I could speak, we addressed this in the Policies and Procedures Committee that just met.
Yes. thank
And
you.
my suggestion, following up on a public comment from last month, was to have the meetings filmed. So that not only could Pam, or Secretary Ashworth, take notes afterwards from the minutes from the film, but she could more fully participate in our meeting, so she was not having to take the minutes and instead of being able to participate in our meeting.
Yeah.
So we made that, and I think we all came to that agreement.
Yes, we will have that,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing it up, I was going to, we will have a report from the policies committee at the next meeting. At least at the next regular meeting, to try to solve exactly this problem.
I know Pam's got her hands full, trying
Yes.
to keep track of everything.
I believe it's inappropriate. I think just saying public made comment is more than enough for board minutes.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I was requested to do that. Therefore, I did it.
The
Okay, so
request
we'll-
was just for, just a little overview of what the question was.
Yeah,
about.
I
It didn't
think,
have
I
to be
think,
Detailed, it just,
yeah, I
So we
I
get some
think Leroy
idea.
had less intention,
yeah.
or no intention to get that sort of thing in the minutes. I
I'm
believe,
a
I believe we have a
court reporter. I
solution
can't help
from the committee, which will take care of that. So,
Thank you.
So for once, we got two L's in my name in the minutes.
yes. Yep. Okay. Any other comments on the minutes? Any other discussion before we seek an approval?
Could you help me again? So we know that about Jacqueline, but we're going to no longer put anything in the minutes that's negative about
Right,
public comment.
right now, we're operating under the same rules we operated under last time. Okay. I expect that to change.
Okay,
I
Thank
will
you.
make a motion to accept the minutes with the amended correction.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, public comment, 2 minutes. I'm sorry, I know very few names, so. If you would, tell me your name and I'll try to start remembering. But I'm an old man, it'll take me 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Gray,
Okay,
I'm from Harrisville, the senior citizen,
okay,
and I would like to direct you as board members, with all respect, directly. ACCOA is to promote the independent well-being and dignity of the aging population of Alcona County, which is 44% of the county, by far the largest group. 7% of which are at the poverty level. The national average for aged people at the poverty level, or excuse me, the Michigan average is 8% or 1% below. The grant that you have is for, and I quote from the Michigan Grant Watch website, grants to assist veterans, youth, displaced workers, and immigrants to enter, remain, and advance in the workplace. Nothing about that has anything to do with the aged community, which again is the largest community in Alcona County. Does this mean that we as the aged population disregard the rest? No, we do not. We have support in all those groups in our community. 1, by NEMSCA, 2, Habitat for Humanity, 3, veterans, which is the Veterans Affairs Committee. And then we have the school system, which we all are involved in with our taxes. And some of these people volunteer to go to the school and read and to do programs with the kids. We work at food banks. We have meals even this week at churches, which you can see in the local paper, and other organizations within the county. We as senior citizens are for our entire community, and we ask you as the board to stay focused on what that says. Alcona County Commission on Aging. We see the plans before us stray to the point that we believe the senior community will be left behind. I don't speak for every single citizen that's senior, but I do speak for a majority of them. So it's up to you as the board to prove to us, the senior citizens of this community, because that you want to work for the seniors. Right now, your proof speaks volumes to us that you are wanting to work with the entire community, which is already being served by the people that we're going to come and talk. and they were gonna talk about poverty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I missed your time.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. Did you say that our level of senior poverty is below the state level?
Yes, by 1%. State poverty is 8%. Alcona County is 7%. That's a figure you can find online if you care to look. We rank only in the top 5 of poverty when we deal with kids in the 5th grade age or below. We're ranked number 3. ACCOA County's ahead of us. In every other metric for poverty in Michigan, we do not rank in the top 5. Thank you.
Well, point of order, I believe you would have found that a little bit different had you heard the presentation from NIMSCA, and they would have talked about senior poverty.
Oh, that's fine, but I'm telling you the figures from the census this year, sir.
Let's move along next. I'm sorry, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know names.
Pam McKinnon from Lincoln. I think the way that whole situation with those people was handled slightly wrong. I agree with everything you said. I just am really curious as to how many of you were actually prepared to spend 5 to 6 hours today, considering childcare and other responsibilities in business and everything else. How many of you were really prepared to spend that amount of time today to cover their presentations and your business that is a normal? I know you don't have to answer me, but if you would have thought that out, we wouldn't have had all 3 people stacked on top of each other to do the same thing. You could have planned it much differently, that's all I'm saying. And it would have been kinder and more professional.
Yeah,
I would reply to that. My intention would be to try to keep meetings at 2 hours.
That's right.
If we had proceeded with those presentations, they were supposed to be 2 hours by themselves. So yes.
But you all look horribly mean for, I mean, I agree with what you said. It needed to be said. I know I didn't want to spend 5 or 6 hours here just to attend this meeting. None of us, I don't believe, were planning on that.
thank
You
you.
know, I mean, just think
Thank
about it.
you. And another question, yes.
Hi, Judy French. I actually wasn't planning on speaking, but I want to point out what ACCOA used to be. Because my grandmother started ACCOA and I know what her intention was, to help the seniors. And it never changed from that. She didn't buy backpacks and bicycles for kids. She didn't focus on other areas of the community. She focused on the seniors. And I want to see ACCOA get back to focusing on the seniors. I want to see seniors come here and eat and actually want to come here and eat. Because I know seniors who don't feel comfortable coming here to eat. I want to see activities here for our seniors. There used to be a lot of stuff. And I want to see that back for our seniors. There are other organizations that take care of housing. There are other organizations. There's a backpack program for the kids. There are other groups that handle these things. A senior center doesn't need to take on and duplicate other services. A senior center needs to be a senior center. We don't need apartments for other people. We need a senior center. This building needs to be replaced and has been for years. The village offered property, and not only property for free, but money along with it to build a new senior center. Why was that turned down? Why would you turn down free land, perfectly good free land in a perfect location for a senior center, and then buy more property? Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
I spoke at the last meeting about the claim that I had, that what happened to me at the September 30th day when I walked in and was told that there was no food here, and then was charged for a meal that seniors over 60 only have to pay a $3 suggested donation. So I wrote a letter, I did through the appeals process, and I wrote a letter, I sent it to each of the board members, and at the end, the questions that I wanted answered were as follows. Does the executive director have the sole discretion to decide who or who does not receive a meal? Does the executive director have the sole discretion to decide how many seniors pay for a meal? Does the executive director have the right to discriminate against a senior who comes in for a meal, even if the kitchen is not open that day? And does the executive director have the right to discriminate against my husband by not allowing him to become a member, even though the bylaws of the ACCOA say that he can be? And I'm going to read you the letter that I got back from the board, signed by Mike Maturin. I don't know if the board saw this letter, but this is the response to my claim and the questions that I asked the board. Thank you for letting the board know about the incident which occurred on September 30th. We're sorry for the miscommunication and misunderstanding that happened on that day. As a board, we're always looking to improve our services and how they are delivered. The grievance committee reviewed the reports and subsequent information and has made the following determination. We found that there needed to be more clarity on ACCOA policies and guidelines. The committee will look at what can be done moving on to ensure that our policies and guidelines are more clear and that this doesn't happen again. Please be assured that our goal is to be sure that our participants are satisfied. We invite you both to join us again for dinner, which is available every Monday through Thursday. So that is the answer I received from the board. Not a single question was answered that I had asked. Not a single, I'm sorry that there was miscommunication, so there wasn't even really an apology, how it was discussed. I don't know what to say about this. I really have no comment other than just I wanted to let you know what type of answer we get from a board that is not accountable for the actions that their employees take. Thank you.
Thank you. More comments? Yes, sir.
I also wasn't going to say anything, but I was observing while the discussions were going on between you on the motions and preliminary things that you were discussing. And I was observing the vice president of the commission and the director. And what I observed, now this is just me, I observed that the director was taking over the meeting and not you. He was answering the questions, not you. And what I'm concerned about is who's in charge here, the commission board or the director? And you guys better figure this out. Because if you don't straighten this out, you have to remember, he works for you. You do not work for him. Please understand that. And the observation is, from many of us, is that you guys are working for him. And that better change, sir. And I'm being angry here, I apologize for my anger. Should not be yelling. I understand that. But what I'm saying is true. And I hope that you really listen to this.
Thank you, Jerry. Any further comment? Okay, thank you all. We're down to the commissioner, to reports. Bill Thompson is not present, so we're not gonna give you a report. Superintendent's report, Dan?
Yeah, just a couple items. Obviously, we had power outages in the county a few weeks ago, ended up having to close school for a Monday because of food and refrigeration units that we couldn't guarantee would be ready to go for students the next day. Then, of course, we had a snow day already as well, so 2 down out of our 6 allowable forgiveness days. Working on wrapping up our boiler replacement project at the middle high school. That's just about set, and we have 2 more pumps that we're waiting on some supply chain issues, but it'll be good to have that project completed and ready to go. Working on a kitchen renovation for the summer utilizing sinking funds. So that is a 60-year-old kitchen essentially that has very poor ventilation that we're working on addressing for the workers and students that will be utilizing the kitchen. A pretty tremendous focus right now. I'm trying to create a teacher prep program at Alpena Community College because of the lack of education candidates. ACC has not had a teacher prep option locally for any community members to try to be able to help funnel some more education candidates our way. So trying to work with ACC and the AMA ESD on that potential partnership opportunity as well. So we're excited about that. And as always, we're looking for volunteers and substitutes. So very short number of people that are especially in the substitute realm. So if anyone knows anybody that be willing to substitute in any of the areas, whether it be custodial or bus driving or paraprofessional or teaching, we'd be thrilled to help people work their way through that process. So
Question, I know a lot of work, but what does that have to do with the ACCOA?
been invited to share an update from the school.
I'm just curious.
Yep.
NIMSCA report. Let's see, we lost our NIMSCA people, so I guess we're not gonna get
We
that.
lost them, Scott.
Regional advisor, board, would have been Mike.
Lost them.
Okay, now we have, next, questions regarding, the reports, from the departments within ACCOA. First one here is in-home services. Anyone, anyone on the board have a question about the in-home service report?
Do we have that in our packet?
Yes, you do.
They're on the first orange one. In the packet. It's the first one.
On this, do we have how many actual people were served? I see the number of personal care hours and respite care hours, and homemaking hours. Do we have a list of how that was broken down? How many people received personal care? How many received respite care? How many received homemaking care?
We have the
Oh, we
hours.
certainly have that within the, within
Could I ask
the
that that be
NIMSCA
put in
records.
future report?
Sure, yes. Then can you, make a note to just add the,
Can we do that?
person
Individuals are
numbers.
served.
But can we do that? Because we're putting their name down?
no, we're not putting the name, just
The number of.
just how many? So if it's 6 or 17 or 148, that's the information you'll now have. Yeah. Okay,
I have a question, Will.
Sure.
I probably should ask this to Caitlin, but when we have a direct care worker go in the home, it says here that they give bed baths, change colostomy bags and empty catheter bags. Is our direct care workers trained on what to look for and how to do all this? Or do they just go in and do it?
let me pass that question to Lenny, who I'm sure knows the answer.
Rest assured that all the services that we provide,
I can't hear
I
you.
can't.
I said, rest assured that all the services that we provide, our staff go through training and we have an RN on staff.
Right, but she's not in this house.
The direct care workers receive training to provide the services within the scope that they are providing. So those are the things, if a particular client has a certain need that is above the scope of what we cannot provide, we refer them to other agencies within the community to receive those services. Every services, all the services that we provide, training and has been given to all of our direct care workers to provide those services.
So they are trained to do this.
They are trained to do the services if they are requested.
Okay.
Food services, any questions about food service report? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, do food services first.
Here again, could I request the same thing? Could I have a breakdown of how many individuals are
Sure.
getting? How many separate individuals are receiving hot meals and how many separate individuals are getting SAC? Not the total, but how many?
Yeah, I
individuals?
understand, yeah,
Does that make sense to my?
sure. Fine. In fact, Lenny, let's just add that to each one of these reports. Kinship report, any questions? Transportation report. food bank report. All right, so in the future, we'll have the number of people served added to this. That's a good piece of information to have. I've asked that question a couple of times.
Well, it might
On a
be-
one-time basis, but it's fine to do it forever. Yeah.
Could we possibly announce that there will be no pop-up pantry in November or December?
Announce how? Here?
To-
Yes.
To the people, yes, because a lot of them don't know it.
Yeah,
And I think she put it in the paper, but I'm not 100% sure,
in the newsletter, or in the
in the regular paper.
in the review. Okay. I don't know, Lenny, do you know offhand? What?
Or on our
What-
website, it could be
Yeah.
put on there.
Yeah. Can we check to make sure that we've done as much as we can to
We-
say no pop-ups?
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Okay, on to the executive director's report. Lenny, you're up.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a statement. It might not be popular, but it's gonna be the truth. We finished 75% of this page in about 5 minutes. I don't know if you might need a bathroom break, but I do believe we got through most of the business that are on the report. So,
We're gonna have to get a microphone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't.
Oh.
hear you.
Can't either.
I said that we got through 75% of this paper on the agenda in about 5 minutes.
That's fabulous, because I have a bunch of questions regarding the financial report that it apparently isn't on the agenda at all. So I could have extra time we saved and we put towards that financial report, where I have many questions.
Yeah, we did skip over that. We got it in our book.
Did you go through?
Yeah,
It's not on.
Okay,
he's right, it was an omission.
It's just an omission, it's not by intent. We have new people stepping in, but by all means,
But
let's
is
talk
that
about the
now, or do you
financial
want to
report.
do your report?
Nope, let's talk about the financial report.
I have some questions about on the back of the first page where it says income statement. Down about half the way where it says advertising dash admin. The last 12 months, we've done 13,000. Well, first I should ask, is it confidential information, anything I'm speaking about? I would not want to release anything that the board considers confidential in any way. Is anything in
well-
this financial report confidential?
Certainly, there's information about people's salaries in here.
I don't think that's in here this time. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Operating
No, it's on,
It's in the operating expenses.
it's under, yeah, for instance, the wages for administration, which is the salary of
But it
the manager.
doesn't say a name, it just says wages.
Well,
Just wages, yeah, for each.
That
each
is-
section.
but those are the wages of a particular person, easily identifiable. So, yeah, that,
Was not,
Anything
that's
else,
just one.
including the-
yeah, that's one thing. So yes, there are confidential things in here.
What page are you
I'm
referring?
sorry,
Specifically, for instance, the Edward Jones account values, is anything confidential there? That would be at the very back of the financial report. I think there's been some confusion as to what is confidential in our board packet. I don't think we're saying that the whole packet is confidential,
no,
but there is confidential information in there. And I guess the only way we talk about this in the policy procedures is to specifically ask what is confidential. And so I'm asking, is there anything other than the patient's or person's names that is this board considers confidential?
In the confidentiality agreement that you provided, it spells out what was considered confidential.
And I'm sure we'll get to that in the policies and procedures. We haven't as of yet.
But you
Is there anything?
but you were
I'll
provided that
restate the
information.
question in case-
yeah.
Is there anything
Yeah,
that the
you-
board considers confidential in the financial report? Other than.
let's,
Vice
see,
President said, specific name and specific wages.
um. I don't, let's see if we trip over anything else, that's doubtful,
Absolutely.
okay?
On the
Um,
back of that
I-
page, the first.
yeah,
I'll
I'm
make
not a
sure that I-
lawyer and,
Yeah, I'll make sure.
I could screw up and I don't wanna,
The first advertising dash admin where it says $13,025.57 for the last 12 months. The previous 12 months were 6,957, so a difference of about 6,000 some dollars. Could I have some
Where are
information
you
on what
talking
that
about?
entails? What is advertising dash administration? What would that entail? And why, for instance, is it 6,000 more this year than it was last year?
I'm still trying to.
I'm
find
sorry.
it.
Okay, so you're talking, are you referring to the first page?
Back of the first page.
Back of the first page?
My first page is blank on the
Maybe
back.
carry the way down. says
Mine's blank too.
afterflow.
What's the, I'm sorry, Bob, I just haven't found your page yet. What's the title one?
Advertising dash admin. Back of the first page.
Income,
in the financial
income
report,
statement, okay,
Is the next
starts
page
the
over?
income
Yeah.
statement,
okay.
Front page
Hang-
talks about
yeah,
the sales.
hang
then
on.
I think I can speak to that. Because one of the things that is an advertising admin would be the purchase of the fair animals that was considered marketing advertising. So that would be a significant increase, that'd be $4,000.
So that's where it was categorized.
Yeah.
But since nothing is categorized, and then we would have no idea what that was unless we discuss it in a meeting, correct? We have no idea what that was unless we ask. And we have no idea which of the various categories that we have, whether it be homemaking, respite, adult care. We have no idea where that was put. But thank you for asking that question. Down a few, it's where it says insurance, where we have paid $33,564 in insurance last 12 months. The previous 12, it was 11,000. So we spent 23,000 and change more on insurance. Could I have an idea why that would be? About 5 lines under where we were, the advertising admin, we go to ACCOA review, the insurance workman's comp, insurance blue cross, legal fees, and then insurance, where it's gone up 20-some thousand. Could I have an idea why that was?
Our premium rates increase, like most everybody's, in the States, premiums increase.
Did they
So
explain why they tripled our insurance rates? Was there any reason that they tripled our insurance rates?
that's where you're gonna trip over confidentiality. So there was,
You can't.
we can't discuss this in an open meeting. We can clear the room and they're happy to talk to you about it.
Why is that confidential? That should be opened up what the insurance should be covering.
I think you might have answered my question.
Yeah,
And then down lower, maybe 10 lines up from the service contract, it's from the bottom, it's a service contract / new building project. We're gonna see that as a total of $42,075. Am I to assume that is what we've spent in the last 12 months that's been put forth towards the new building project, obviously? Is that miscellaneous administration? Maybe 7 lines up from the bottom, $5,020.95, where the previous 12 months it was 0. Can I ask what that might be, miscellaneous administration, what that might include?
That might include, I would have to pull the exact reports. This is the reason why we would be able to provide the exact amount. So I'm not going to speculate as to what that category is going to be, but I could provide you a report in that category of what charges were made in that category.
Yeah, moving forward, I'd love to see that because all of these.
Well, this is why we have a finance committee, and that finance committee meets, and then that finance committee reviews that information. And then you provide it with a finance report on the finance committee.
And then how, if that happened that way, how would the public know about that? How would the public find out that information?
Well, the
You
information.
can ask here. The best procedure would be if you see something you don't understand, is ask the finance committee to look at it.
Or submit your
And
questions
then- and
before the
then-
board.
And
So I would, in
Yeah.
this scenario, I would write down all the questions I have, which are many more.
Yeah.
Give them to the finance committee. They would answer them back to me either in writing or whatever.
Yeah.
And my question would be, how would the public still find out about that if they had these?
Because
questions?
we would read
Not
your,
confidential
we
information.
would read your question and then we would provide the information in the report. So Bob Turk asked questions about the miscellaneous category. We researched, these were the charges for that category, and we would go through and give you those things.
I think that
the
would be
finance
perfect.
committee will add whatever information any board
That-
member
that would be
wants
perfect.
about anything.
If we got a financial
Yeah.
committee.
The only,
report,
the only thing would be, if it was a confidential item. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
that would
But
be
you
perfect
were
if-
made aware, Mr. Turk, that you were advised of these processes and you were told that this is how we could do. And you could find these questions. So all the questions that you had, you could have had 3 months or 3 weeks worth of answers waiting on you. So you were provided the standard of which the board chose to operate. And I asked you and I gave you several opportunities to meet with me in any of your questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank-
When,
If things were reported in a financial committee, that would be wonderful. I went over the last minutes for the last 3 years. There's not been a single financial committee report listed, period. There's only been 2 committee reports, period, listed in the last 3 years. One in May of 22, which was bylaws, and one in July of 21st, which was building and grounds. These committees are supposed to meet 3 to 4 times a year. There are no listings of any report from those financial committees anywhere in the minutes. So that is why I felt like I needed to go actually to get these information. I think they're simple questions. I think the public would probably like to know these also. I have more.
yes.
If-
Well, let's,
If you don't
Let's-
mind, Mr.
let's-
Executive Director.
let's take your questions unless you have something that seems really critical to you.
I do, I have.
Let's take the others, send them off to the finance committee. And we'll have answers at the next meeting.
Perfect. And so.
And
one
we'll
of those
we'll do
and I-
that into the future.
Is the.
Now,
financial-
I agree. Committees have not met as often as they want. And in some cases, they've met, not done minutes, and so there's no record for you to see. But there's no reason we can't go forward with the procedure that says, if you don't understand something in, well, any report, when you get your board books, ask the appropriate committee, and they will go through, and typically, the answer will show up. There'll be a split out that says, okay, we spent $20 for stamps and 40 bucks on mailing envelopes, or whatever the stuff is. And and unless it trips over one of those things that are confidential, the answers will be public. So,
And if they be made public in the financial committee meeting that is supposed to be done.
I'm sorry, say that
Here in
again.
public, how would they be made public? If I ask them a question, they reply to me, how would the public get to know the answers for this? If I see a credit card bill for $5,000, how would the public get to know what the breakdown of that is? What was spent there? How would the board members know of that credit card bill? What went into this? What went into this? Without any accounting that we're getting the board members? Seems more practical to give it to each board member. It would be more time efficient to give the breakdown to each board member rather than making each board member have a specific meeting with the financial committee of their own question.
It's in your board book. Like, I don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The purchases,
What
everything
I'm
is in
saying
your
is,
board book.
If there's,
I mean,
if you wanted to have
go through
an
your board book.
accounting of, say, raw food here, it's $9,000. You want to know how much beef was purchased, that's fine, we'll put it in the report.
But it's already in the report book. That's what I'm,
Well, if he wants a breakdown of that particular
In
thing,
the interest
Like,
of-
if there is- if there
so
isn't,
here's the thing. I'm not placating to the crowd. So here's what I want you to understand. what you review was a cover sheet. If you would scroll to the subsequent sheets that follows, you see the breakdown. So if you go to, I don't know, page 28, 27, somewhere in the report, it shows the building fund, it shows what we're spent, it shows what we're spending the categories and where's the budget that's allocated. So, but allow me to finish, sir, please. So then if you wanted a detailed report, you would just submit your questions when you had the week to review the entirety of the book. Then you can say, hey, I have a question about this charge. Dolores does it all the time with us. She comes in and says, hey, I have a question about this, and we give her the information. So if you want that information, we could present that information. Now, if the finance committee would provide their reports, the report can be attached to the minutes. That's the way the public is. So if the committees don't meet, it's not, I'm hiding something, is that the board doesn't do the committee meeting. I took the liberty and typed up the committee minutes for this one because there were no committee minutes that were taken. So, but again, to answer your question, if you have these questions, the process has always been that you submit your questions so that we can research this. So it's not just we're sitting here looking like we don't know what we're doing. We have very detailed notes. Everything is accounted for as we go out of this building. So there you go.
Great, thank you. That the process that you're referring to, I've not been aware of that at all. That is not in my board packet at all. That's the way to approach this, but thank you for going forward. So I'll, in the interest of brevity, we can move right along, but I will have more financial questions during the financial committee report that I believe they didn't meet this week. So thank you.
Okay. So wait, I said the financial committee did meet this week? Was that his last statement?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe they met on the 18th, right?
Of
Yeah,
oh, yes, it's last week.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they met recently. So. Okay. Let's see. Does anyone else have questions about the financial report? Okay.
I don't know if this is a proper time to do this, but I would suggest that we put Bob on the finance committee.
I requested.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I would like that. Then he can, because there's a lot about this finance stuff that I don't understand. I mean, I sign the checks, and if there's, you know, like yesterday, I had 3 or 4 questions regarding why is this person getting this and whatever, and I look at some of the statements. And Stan is on it with me, and I mean, for us to know all of this, it's very difficult.
I'd
So-
be happy to swap out that position with you if you want to do.
Well, I have to be on it because I have to sign the checks,
We have,
unless somebody else can come in and sign checks.
Yeah. We'll, yeah, we will, report the, potential swap or whatever. We'll tell Mike that, he has the power to appoint the committees. I'm not gonna act in his temporary
The
absence.
agenda
So-
says we're going to discuss the, someplace here, it says, subcommittee updates. Would that? Could we just switch it then? If
Well, I'm not-
somebody wants to switch.
No,
it?
that's not how it works.
It's Mike's call to appoint the committees,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna step on his toes when he's only temporarily absent. So, we will inform Mike, you know, of the request, and we'll see what he does with it.
Okay.
Okay, that's the best I can do for you.
Right, and moving forward is the Edward Jones financial report, is that something that's got the financial committee is going to talk about? Because I know we have
Sure.
the agent come, if not, if they're not gonna report on that, I have many questions regarding that also.
Okay. Add that to your, to your list and, or, you know, pin those 2 pieces of paper together or whatever and send it in, and we will look at all of them. And, in general, you'll get replies suitable for the public. So,
You're gonna report on that today, though, aren't you?
I'm sorry.
Aren't you gonna report what happened at our meeting with the finance thing there, the Edward Jones? Are you gonna talk on that today?
You're gonna talk,
You're gonna talk on it?
you are going to talk about that.
Well, why wasn't I
No,
made
I've-
aware of this?
Because you're the chairman and you were made aware of
No, I-
that in the meeting, and I said I would draft up a report for you if you wanted
Right,
to
and
review it.
Will said he would
And I,
handle
and
it.
Okay.
I will do it.
Okay, then that's fine.
Get the report. Okay. Yeah. Okay, um. Let's see, Lenny,
Okay,
Executive Director report.
I'm gonna address a couple of things. One, for public consumption, okay? I think you guys have a very different view of who I am and the character of the person that I am, okay? So this is a volunteer board. That means these people give up their time to come here and help and assist. So any assistance that ACCOA can provide via our staff, we provide that. So if they ask to draft up a report, they ask to keep minutes, we provide that at their request. So going forward, there were some questions made by our board member about some of the contracts that were enacted by the board of directors, not Lenny Avery, by the board of directors. I put these contracts in your books for everyone to review. So in my report, you will see under old business, in the old business section of your book, you will find Ethos contract, the site op contract, and well as the previous year to date of the last 2 years of the Edward Jones report. Okay, for your review. Now, we do these reports in very detail. However, if you don't review them before the date of the meeting, I can't help you with that. We put this information out so you can make an informed decision about the future of ACCOA. The date of the meeting probably shouldn't be the first time you crack open the book. I'm just going to say that. So this information is made aware and public so that the people can see and hear what we're discussing. Except when it's a matter of confidentiality. So I will give you a, for instance, if there was a workman's comp claim or a accident or someone that was hurt that caused our insurance to go into force, that would raise a premium. But it also would trigger a confidentiality, not some mismanagement of funds. So that is where we say that might be a point of confidentiality, not a point to grandstand, not a point to say that we're hiding something. We're just letting you know that might be a point of confidentiality. So at any point in time, does anybody have any questions based off of the reports that in the old business, because these contracts were already approved by ACCOA for those services that we are currently using? I believe you had a question, Mr. Turk, about the Edward Jones report, and I believe that you received those 2 years for your review.
Yeah, thank you. Is that confidential? It doesn't sound like any of that is confidential.
You have a specific question?
Any information regarding our Edward Jones amount of values, the account status, the preservation, our year-to-date return, our 3-year return, is any of that confidential that can't be released to the public?
It's a matter
That's a
of,
board question, not just for you. I would think that's something the board would need to decide.
I would say maybe you talk to Tim.
Yeah, I think, I think we should ask the lawyer. But it would be a one-time ask, you know, is there any, exactly that question? And I just don't want to screw up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd like to know the board, what would your concerns be for not releasing that information? It's not a patient's health information, no.
No,
names on
yeah,
the
I understand,
funds
and,
we have.
yeah, and as far as, you know, If I had a lovely law degree here, I would say, no, I don't think there's anything confidential in that, but let me find out. You know, let us actually check, make sure we don't tell something we shouldn't have, okay? We'll have that answer at the next meeting. So, you know, we'll know that shortly. I don't think there's anything confidential about those things, but I could get tricked, so. Let me make a call to the lawyer and find out, and then we'll know the answer going forward.
Okay. Also, in my executive director report, there was questions about the MEDC, so Michigan Economic Development Corporation grant with the Oconee County Commission on Aging. That was put in my section of the book so that you can review the contract that we currently have with MEDC.
That is in your section.
That is in the executive directive.
Yeah, I make a comment.
Yes, sir.
In the MEDC
I did have
contract,
One question regarding
What,
that.
someone down here.
I'm already
Right.
going down here. Stop. In the MEDC contract, going through all the terms, conditions, everything else, and they give us exhibit A that we have to go by, we're already in violation of it.
How are we in violation of exhibit A, sir?
Well, just for one, the amount to the architecture. We're way over that amount.
What are you talking about, sir?
Well, right here in exhibit A,
Mhm,
okay, the architecture is 422.
mhm.
Well, and other documents in here were up 500 and something.
So let me explain so that you can understand and everyone can understand. Exhibit A is what you would consider a grant narrative of how you would need to spend the funds.
Mhm.
At any time when we make a report to MEDC, we can move money from one category to apply to the other category. So it may not cost us, $8 million in construction. We may be far less, but we had to give them a budget narrative to show what we would spend and how the money would be broken down. But at any time, if we need to move or deobligate, we make a report to MEDC. They give us the authorization to move those categories to meet what's required. Now, in the document that you're referring to with the SIDOC in phase 2, that is the highest range that it could be versus the lowest range. So they give you an estimate range of what it could be. So they say, this is what it could touch between the two projects. And then they have a lesser amount. But we can get, if you want, we can go to that and talk about that because that's my next report that I want to discuss.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Bob, you had something.
I have a question. Is there a reason why on this document, I believe it's a 8-page document that we're looking at, that it has, and other documents that we have, that the executive director has signed them rather than the president? Are they interchangeable for this? Then would we, as a board, vote on authorize the president to sign something? Are we necessarily voting that the executive director can sign all of our contracts? Because I'm seeing quite a few that are signed by the executive director as opposed to our president.
The president, to answer your question, or do you want to answer the question?
I'll answer it.
There you go.
The board, sometimes through the president, says that Lenny can sign, yeah. Lenny can't sign without board approval. Can't sign without the president's approval.
Yeah.
So,
The board.
yeah, so it's okay that his name is on it because we already said that he could do that. We told him to sign it, basically. So, yeah, he doesn't have freedom to sign these things without the approval of the board.
Understood.
Yeah, so that's his name is instead of Mike's is really of no consequence because the only way Lenny has authorization is through the board.
Understood.
Okay. Any other questions about that?
Well, also further back,
Okay.
you would see the site plan, the pro site plan, as well as the perspective in the book for that particular section. As we get further along, we will be releasing this information out into the community for consumption. But as it states, we put this in the book for your review, because this was the subject of the new building project planning committee meeting. And there were some questions made by the board, a board member.
Yes, everyone should understand that we have an architect who's working away. His plans are not yet set in concrete. Things can still change. We have, what do they call preliminary drawings? Is that the right word? Leroy, is that the right term of art? Preliminary drawing, something like that. Anyway, we're some distance from having anything that's, really locked down in concrete. That's gonna be a while. It'll come, but one of the things that we have on the agenda today is to approve letting the architect move forward. So,
Is there any, no. Is there any way we can get a larger printout of the community center and maybe even the apartments? Because in there, they are so tiny, you can't read them, you don't know what's
I don't
any
know,
of it is.
do we have a printer big enough?
I mean, we can ask for the same blowout that they did before. That's just something that we can put on the wall and.
Okay.
And
I mean, to have that, we
I'm
can
not-
just take home and look at and study it.
I mean, this is a page.
I would have another request that, since the senior center has gone from 13,000 to 32,000 feet. I've yet to see any type of floor plan, what the plans are, what's going to be in there,
Well,
any
that's,
of that.
that's the part that we're about to talk about, which is allowing the contractor to start drafting those things, because now we're ready to proceed forward. And that's the next agenda item, which is right next, which is the SIDA group.
Okay, but what I'm talking about, does the board or the public or anybody else have any input as to what is going to go into the senior center? How it's going to be laid out, what the purposes are going to be?
Again, I answered this question with you and I'll answer it again for everyone who continues to ask that question. We did survey the public.
Okay, was that for the 13,000 square foot or the 32,000 square foot?
Okay, it was less specific than that. It was, what do you want in a community center for Alcona County?
And
Among
then,
other questions.
and it wasn't just also, it was also the people who would be using the senior center on top of the seniors. We also, Mr. President, it's very difficult to speak if I'm going to be interrupted
Yes,
by the public. So
that's-
can you please allow the public to know that they should not be making
Yes,
outbursts? Thank you.
I will do that. Please do not make outbursts.
We need
We
to
did-
speak up though, because we cannot hear.
Okay. The board hired the University of Michigan to do a survey of the county. Michigan did that survey. Whether any individual person got asked on that survey, I have no idea. But we went to a reputable survey firm, the University of Michigan, to do the survey. There's no reason for us to suspect that they didn't do the survey. They have records. It's all there. We did a survey.
But somebody should know somebody that got a survey.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
nobody knows anybody that got one.
Because I will say,
Could we go to-
Audience,
Could we go to University of Michigan and say, Okay, how come nobody got one? We need a name. Did you get one? Did you get one? Did you, you know?
Okay, so to answer your question again, Dolores, the survey was conducted, and I believe, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but I know we send a survey out to the school. We send a survey out to teachers and students. We send surveys out to the general public. I was at every supervisor committee meeting. I was at every public event, fairs. We've had open things. I just believe that this was not even a thing until we actually got money. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you. I know 3 seniors that did the survey because they are my parents and my grandmother. So they did do the survey. They went to one of the public events. They scanned the QR code and they completed it while we were right next to them. They completed the survey with their grandchildren in mind because they want to use the community center with their grandchildren. And so a lot of the things that they asked for were things that they could do with their grandchildren in a center that was for the community. So there are people who did it. I know I did it. And so did my parents who are seniors.
Which brings us full circle. This is the senior center. We are supposed to be focused on the senior center. The bylaws, purpose. ACCOA is a non-sectarian, nonprofit 501c3 organization whose purpose is to provide programs and services for senior citizens, to provide a forum to define the needs and desires of senior citizens, to work cooperatively with other agencies to communicate and promote the interest of senior citizens to legislative bodies and news media on political, economic, and social issues, to assist senior citizens in channeling their questions and concerns to the agency or authority most appropriate to provide an adequate response, and to promote and secure federal, state, local, and private funding to support the operation of senior citizen programs and services. That's the purpose of ACCOA. And I think, I'm sorry, but I believe the board and the ACCOA has lost their way, lost their purpose, their vision. We are supposed to be serving the seniors of this county. And personally, I really have a difficult time with the senior center being land developers. There's other agencies to do housing. I think Habitat for Humanity, was here, and other agencies. Someone mentioned the fact that the senior center was given 10 acres of beautiful property and enough money to the excavating and make it shovel ready to build a senior center. And I don't know why it was declined. I never even heard about it.
Do you have any effort? You have information of that?
Of what?
You made that statement that was given to the senior center. I mean,
It was offered to the senior center, to you,
okay, and what monies was offered?
$60,000.
Okay, so I will do this. I will explain a lot of things that I guess you're coming to the party.
Did the board make the decision on
The board did make the decision. The land that was offered is very difficult to develop because it's not flat. It has a lot of divots and it's not developable. We looked at the 40 acres. This is the reason why they still own the 40 acres, because trying to get water, sewer, and all the different things that are not near the amenity. The board declined that offer because they wanted to have a center that was more frontage so people could see, not tucked off in the middle in the woods someplace. So also, there were some other conditions that was attached with those funds. So the board made that decision. We are re-legislating the decisions of the board that have already been made. Right now, we're trying to move forward on the decisions that the board has already made. So again, a survey was conducted, information was provided. Based on that survey, we will have a community assessment of needs reports that will be ready in January for the boards to review. In conjunction with NIMSCA, who did their community needs assessment, who would have presented that, but you guys voted to escort them out or not have them present. Basically, the things that you're mentioning, you said Habitat for Humanity, but Ted Fines would have been happy to explain in his presentation what Habitat is capable of doing. So to refer to these individuals who are not here to discuss their point of view, I think is very disingenuous because they were going to give us their point of view.
I think I just mentioned Habitat for Humanity as one example of those that could.
Right.
And as far as the land not being flat, my God, have anybody looked at this property?
We did, we
I-
had a survey.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, I looked at the property that Lincoln was willing to give us also and looked pretty buildable.
so
Yeah.
to move forward, the SIDOC group is ready to enact the second part of their contract, which is to start the process for request for qualifications for a general contractor. To start the qualification process for people to submit, local contractors to submit for request for qualification for both the housing portion and the construction of the senior center. They are also ready to start drafting plans, to start contacting and getting permits and pulling permits. They're ready to enact the second part of the contract that this board approved, I believe unanimously, to move forward.
Well, with the SIDOC group, I guess I don't understand why the next contract puts the housing before the community center.
I assume we're looking in the new business. We've kind of moved ahead to the new business.
It's all kind of blended together here.
And I have those similar concerns. It says in paragraph 2 there, which is under the new business, that first paragraph. The second paragraph, it says specifically with primary focus shifting to the housing element.
Yes.
And down in the third paragraph, it says, puts phase 2 of housing in front of phase 3, the community center. I'd be curious about that.
Both phases, sorry, I apologize.
The there's some carryover from previous contracts and proposals that were split in here. We have rearranged so that the senior center will be prioritized, not that the housing project is that in the contract?
So that can be altered, but we can look at
Yeah.
that, and take that up at the next meeting, because as it
Yeah.
stands, it says primary focus shift into the housing element.
We will,
In both the contracts
We
we're being
will-
asked to look at.
we will fix those.
Okay, so that you can understand is that the projects are happening simultaneously, okay? So pulling one line out of the contract is not something that we're saying that they're going to only do this. Both projects are simultaneously, as you can see from both that are present in the back of the book. And that the contract we currently have, where they're just ready to move forward with phase number 2, which is addressing some of the concerns that have been brought to the president as far as local labor, subs, request for qualifications. They're ready to move forward with that.
Yeah.
And then that process will move along like a track for part 1 and part 2, both happening simultaneously.
Well, the contract I'm reading says these are separate contracts.
There
Phase 2 housing is a separate contract. Phase 3 community center is a separate contract. Site amenities, sports courts and farmers market, the time and material agreement. To me, I'm looking at a contract that says housing is first and we don't have the money to complete. the whole project. $12.5 million won't do this project.
Is any of this confidential? Can we speak at this meeting at the amounts that are listed on these contracts that we're being asked to sign? Can we talk about that? Or is that in some way confidential that I can't speak what they're quoting, what we're being asked to sign, what their estimates are on these contracts?
Sure, by all means, if you wanna, so I explained to you that there's a ceiling and there's a floor of the contract. It's like a scale. And then I also explained to you that they give you a perspective of what it is. So when the general contractor comes in and we select the general contractor from this body, they will then price out down to the nuts, bolts, and screws of what the project is going to cost. So to sit there and say, well, we can't afford the project, you guys, again, are new to the process. You've been here very, very new, so you don't know the additional things that we are currently working with the project. So we're not building in a vacuum. We have community partners.
Well, after a half a century of being in the contracting industry myself, I'm seeing here that it's going to take almost the entire $12.5 million to build the senior center, not counting anything else. And that's what I'm seeing in here. As somebody looking at a contract to sign, this doesn't tell me all this stuff ramping up. It says housing comes first, and these other things are separate contracts. I can't give my okay to do a contract like that. That's so ambiguous.
Well, that's fine, but I do believe you were you were invited to sit at the meeting. You would have heard that in that meeting where the focus changed and that we were moving forward with both projects simultaneously and that the focus would move towards those projects.
That's not in the contract.
And those of us who weren't invited to that meeting still are permitted to ask questions, are we not?
No one said that you're not.
Wonderful, because I thought I heard that something that since we're new, we're not being allowed to be in.
That's not what I said at all. That's not what I said at all.
The point is that you don't yet have full background, and that's because you're new.
And
That's
yet
what we're
being
trying to
asked
get.
Sign a contract that specifically says somewhere around 11.1 to 11.6 million dollars that does not include the Lincoln Food Pantry and the vehicle storage ground, which totals an additional 5,700. So as Director Parrott said, I would have trouble signing a contract specifically that says with primary focus shifting to the housing element. As I go over the minutes, specifically in our notes in July of 22, that says this beginning portion, speaking of the 12.5 million grant, should cover not all, but a good portion of the housing, which is our biggest need. So I'm hearing with that in the minutes and on this contract, I'm not hearing about anything other than the housing being the primary.
I believe the fixed fees for the housing is 250,000, and the projection for the fees are the highest portion would be for the community center. So I believe that the bulk of what we're building is the community center. So again, my report is as such that SIDOC Group is ready to do what the board has already asked SIDOC Group to do, which is to draft the schematics, to get those things ready for other entities to review, because we still have to go to zoning, we still have to pull permits and all of the different things going forward. Now, if the two directors wish to vote in the negative, that's their prerogative and right as board members. But again, I'm asking for the board to call a vote so that we can continue to do what we ask these entities to do on behalf of ACCOA.
I will make a motion to table this until the corrections is made, which it sounds like it is a correction that needs to be made. And so that the new members of the board certainly have time to more familiarize themselves with the project. And this particular contract, we did just receive this last Wednesday. Several people that I was in the policy and procedure committee with did not receive this till Thursday. I would like, before I'm signing a contract, to have a little bit more time than that. So I would motion to table this until our next meeting.
I second it.
Discussion,
The contract that was already signed is not what this here. We're approving the scope of work. I put
My motion would stay the same.
your motion,
For being
your-
asked to sign today, that's under the new business portion, contract from SIDOC. My motion still, I think, needs to be, I think there was second, could we have a discussion? And then vote on it?
we are having a discussion.
we're in the middle of discussion right now.
You might not like the subject of the discussion, but we're in the middle of a discussion. So the discussion would be, as I again would explain, that we are approving the scope of work. The contract has already been signed, and we are approving the second phase scope of work. Okay, so this was something that was approved before you were seated by the board of directors for SIDOC, and now we're approving the scope of work. Now, if you would like, you can approve the scope of work with the amendment or the changing of the language to highlight that the community center is primary, the housing is secondary. I'm sure we can approve the scope of work with that amendment, and we can have that redrafted for the board for the next meeting.
If the previous board already approved this, what does this board need to do? If this board is being asked to do something in addition to what the previous board has been asked to do, then this board has to make its own decision on what there is in front of it today. So my motion would be as stand.
I have a question on this too. On page 7, when we walked the property up here by the Dollar General.
Yeah.
There was some stakes out there, and I specifically asked if that was the surveying stakes. And you said no, that the company did the survey. Well, in here, it says the owner. Are we the owner?
Yes,
Yes.
we are
It
the
says
owner,
the owner
we
will
have-
furnish a boundary and typographic survey.
which we
We
did.
have not done that, have we?
Oh, yes, we have done that.
ACCOA did that?
We hired, I'm sorry, I've forgotten the name of the company.
Either Prem and Newhoff or one of the surveys.
Skip it, the survey, you said the
Yes.
company that did that's doing the building surveyed it.
We did the survey almost a year and a half ago.
Well, then where was our stakes? Because I asked, where is our boundaries up here? And you said you didn't know. We didn't do the survey, you said.
That's not true.
That must be a confusion, because we had done the survey.
ACCOA did a survey.
Yes.
Yes.
Then we
hired
should
a
be able to
surveying
go up
company.
there. We hired a surveying company.
Yes,
Like,
of course.
did we get the local guy?
I don't know.
Why didn't we just hire the local guy if we did it? And another thing, in here, it says on page 8. That,
What are we looking at? Page 8, which,
pardon?
what document are we looking at?
SIDOC,
I don't know, it's,
SIDOC 1 or 2.
Is that the amended, the new one we have, or?
it's a SIDOC group, and it's a very,
Okay.
now it's on page 8.
The one that
where-
says amended.
Oh, the amended one, okay.
And it says that we have to reimburse all of their expenses. Does that mean if they come up here and spend 2 or 3 days, we've got to pay their hotel bill plus 10%? That's on reimbursable expenses. We have to pay travel.
Is that what they're, yes.
This is where I'm reading that. I don't know. Reimbursable expenses, and it says we have to pay travel and then expenses incurred plus 10%. That's a lot of money.
But, okay, you're picking and choosing because it's talking about printing expenses, postage and shipping. Okay,
Well, yeah, that too,
but,
but
okay, so,
expenses incurred,
okay,
a
so,
long distance travel. That's not postage.
okay, so so that you're understanding this and we're all on the same page. So let's talk about the expenses. When you have a project like this, there are set fee structures that are already preset. So they can't charge an exorbitant amount because we are protected because it's a federal and state project. So when we are using, say, like MEDC,
Why is it in here then?
because that is their standard language of contracts, because they do business. We gave, you guys reviewed the contract, you approved the contract, your vote is tallied that you reviewed.
I
And
don't remember seeing any of this in that contract.
that's not true, Dolores. It was in your last board book.
It was there.
It was there. You
But
read
the
it,
assault-
you voted it, you approved it. So I find it very, I don't know, it's you, if you read something, you signed something, you gave permission for me to enter into a contract for it. Why are you talking about that now? That should have been a discussion then.
Nevertheless, this current board right now is being asked to sign separate documents regardless of what the previous board did. And I have issues with these several.
You're not being asked to sign second
Could I
documents.
speak? Could I finish up just like you asked someone else to allow them to speak? I would appreciate that same.
My apologies.
I have enough questions that I certainly can't see the harm in tabling this till the next meeting unless we are on, for some reason, that our concerns are not considered valid enough. I have questions I'd like to hear if the rest of the board has, which we are different. Thank you.
Is there a motion on it to table it?
There is.
Yeah.
Could we have a special meeting in a couple of weeks or something and?
I believe the motion needs to be voted upon.
We have a motion to vote on first.
I would amend my motion to set us separate, to
Separate.
table this for now and schedule right at this time, a special meeting where we can go over this in more detail.
Okay, who seconded that?
I did.
And are you okay with the change?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have a motion to table this to a special meeting at a time we'll figure out in the next few minutes. Okay,
Correct.
any further discussion on this motion? Okay. Yeah, I think we
want a
probably need a
roll
roll call.
Yes.
It costs money, so, yeah. Okay,
Okay, roll call, please. I'll start with Roland.
Yeah,
Doctor,
Yes, yes on the motion, yes to table,
yes to table for a special meeting.
yes.
Dolores.
Yes.
Will,
no,
Leroy,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
myself, I say yes. Jeff. Yeah, okay. So, all,
I said yes.
Janela.
we can't
Okay,
keep
so
screaming.
we have a,
Here,
How many
sorry.
microphones?
So all except one voted yes
okay,
to table it for a special meeting.
all right, good, okay. We will do that.
Well, can I ask when the special meeting is?
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do next, is try to figure out when we can do this, a special meeting. We had trouble with December 20th, so we should
Maybe forward.
bring it forward.
The first week of December?
Does
I'm
it
a,
have to be on a Tuesday?
It
no,
does not. It can be the first
No,
week of
It's
December.
Special, so it can be.
we might do a quick survey again. I'm out of town until the 5th.
And I'm out of town the second week.
And you're out of town the second week, so. We might have to do without one of us, but there's a space. I'm sorry, you were out of town starting
I'm
that
out
day,
of
Bob.
town from the 11th to the 16th.
Okay, so we have a spot that at least two of us can meet somewhere between in that week that starts what with, yeah. Is that right, Bob? I don't have a calendar. in front of me. Oh, you can keep it. I don't need to
Your
see it.
phone,
I
yeah.
I was just,
Where you at?
we have, you're still here until the 11th, which is what day of the week?
Saturday, Sunday.
That's Sunday. So we have the week between Monday, the 5th, is that right?
Correct.
And Saturday, the 11th.
Correct.
Okay,
let's
so
choose
is anyone else out of town during that space?
I'm
What's the date? The fifth?
Between the 5th and the 11th?
anytime during that week.
I'm fine.
Okay, looks like everyone, Leroy, you're okay with those dates?
I would request not the eighth.
Okay,
I will be busy all day long.
okay, that's easy enough.
Thank you.
So the Tuesday is the 6th, is that correct?
Yep.
That works for me.
And Jacqueline, I know you make an exception for the meetings. Is
Yeah.
the
That's
6th
Tuesday
okay
the
for you?
Tuesday the sixth.
Tuesday, the 6th, 10 o'clock in the morning, agreeable?
10 o'clock?
Yeah,
On the sixth.
on the sixth, is that gonna work? Is that that's a Tuesday?
Yeah.
That works for you, Doc.
Oh, but you have a
I have something in the evenings, yeah.
in the evening. Okay, so 10 o'clock in the morning is okay with you?
It's fine with
Or
me.
not go that long.
It's not going.
Okay, so,
Okay, so we will, is this a workshop meeting? We're calling it a workshop meeting?
I guess.
I guess that's a good enough name, yeah. The idea is we will go through the contract, make sure that we have,
So we can clear
All
up any
the-
questions.
all the various questions we might have answered, so.
Can I make
Okay.
a formal request that all questions be maybe presented to the new building project subcommittee prior to, so that way we can have answers in place beforehand and maybe it won't turn into a
Yeah,
hour-long
okay,
meeting?
that's, that seems like a good idea to me. Any objections to that as well?
That good?
I think that's a smart thing, okay, let's make it, oh, a week before, that's not Thanksgiving, is it?
No,
Okay,
it's the weekend, yeah.
okay, so let's give the committee a,
By Monday, maybe.
a week. What's the previous Monday, Bob?
That'd be 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, so that would
Okay,
be
so
like.
2 weeks from today, get your questions in no later than, please. Earlier would be better.
No later than December first.
Okay, so December 1st. And then that way we can go through, we can settle whatever
Send them to you.
yeah, you can send them to me, that's fine, because I'm on that committee, that's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe Mike can make a decision by then.
Mike doesn't need a decision. at
There's
that.
no-
I mean, to put Bob on.
Oh, I'm sorry for the other
Oh.
decision.
Building
Well,
and
that-
grounds,
we're talking about
we're only gonna be doing building and grounds.
no, it's not building,
new-
grants, it's
I'm
a
sorry,
new
new
building
finance.
project, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the finance committee.
It has nothing to do
Yeah.
with build.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not,
finance.
it's not finance, it's
Okay.
the new building project. Committee that will meet. I will be out of town before that, but we'll figure out how to do Zoom things, or we'll settle questions by email or whatever. I will be available by email and I'll send my cell phone number around so people can.
can you let Dan know?
Yes. Yes, we will. I will send a note around to the entire board. Lenny will make you a copy because you don't read emails.
Stan.
Okay, and Stan too, okay. Lenny knows how to handle that, so you'll make sure they get notes of whatever I send. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have so we have this contract tabled for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I guess it is, until December the 6th, right?
At 10.
Okay. Okay. So let's see, where are we? We're under.
Subcommittee updates. That's where we're at.
Okay, subcommittee updates.
So if you want
So
to,
we have a couple of,
get 3.
we have a couple of things. The financial committee met with the Edward Jones person, Sheila Maleska, sorry. I knew I was gonna miss that.
You can pass those out.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, we could pass these around. She sorry, I can't do 2 things at once. She recommended that we put the we currently have $6.25 million. We put that in an Edward Jones money market account, which pays more than the bank, but is otherwise it's just a money market account. It's like any other. I think the 4%, is that right?
3.88.
3.88%. With a daily daily interest computed daily, so it 3.88% goes on. So it's we'll make some money. So because we won't be able to spend a significant amount of the current $6.5 million and until we have a guy with a shovel. So anyway, and at any time, it's a money market account, we can pull money. It's better than a CD at the bank, for instance, both because you can't get that kind of interest rate from the bank, and because to get a CD at the bank, you tie up the money for a while. So the board voted, in fact, to put the funds into a money market account where they are safe and will make money. Let's see, then the board looked at the budget for next year and approved it. The budget for next year is, except for the building project, essentially it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to the current year's budget. Then nothing of changing about the things that go through NIMSCA, the other services that the board oversees. The committee approved that budget. There was a closed door session about employee compensation. So, and that will be public shortly. But we thought we'd tell the employees first. Okay. That takes care.
Question regarding this.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Was any suggestion made to changing the allocation of our funds that we have them now separate into also moving them into some other form of investment how would I put this? That would have not experienced negative results in this last year. Was any recommendation made? Are you making any recommendation to change the allocation, what we have our existing funds and not counting the new grant fund?
Mhm.
To something different?
Well, you should understand there are basically three buckets. One of them has the MEDC housing money in it. Okay. And that one's in a money market. It won't lose money and we're guaranteed. The ordinary services that we do, things that go through NIMSCA, that sort of stuff. All of those things are in a bank account. We could think about whether it would be smart to put those into a money market instead. We did not consider that, but that's a good idea.
That is.
Is there a problem?
No, there's a point of correction.
Oh,
So
okay.
the three buckets are, we have our unrestricted funds.
Right.
That is in a investment account.
Right.
For 5 years. Set for by the board when we created the Edward Jones account.
Right.
The millage account is already in a money market account
Oh, okay.
in US bonds. That sits in a money market account, and that is separate from our funds that ACCOA has accrued over the last 50 years. So there are three distinct separate buckets. So that is, I believe, the question, and the question you asked was there a talk of moving the buckets to a less volatile market? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because I'm seeing an ACCOA bond fund that's objective was preservation of principal. Am I allowed to say what its year-to-date return is on that? If not, I'm less than satisfied with that. I'm also referring to the ACCOA investment account, which a portfolio objective is balanced towards growth, that I'm exceptionally not happy with the return of that the last year. Is any discussion made? It sounds like that is a board. Or is that only in the financial committee? In which case, how would the board go about trying to say, maybe we need to make a change on some of these things?
Yeah, the until last year, when the entire stock market plunged, we were doing fine with the Edward Jones investment. Even after last year, I believe the net return over the three and a half years that they've had it is still 4%, which is
No, it's more than that.
better than most people. So, the previous 2 years, it was up numbers in the teens. I'm sorry, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but
I know I have them.
yeah, I figured. They were up considerably. And right,
For what it's worth, my calculations have showed that if we are paying Edward D. Jones something like we are every month, but it looks like we are, in the last 3 years, when we account for what we're paying them, we've lost money. So that, how would we go about discussing that? Myself, should I direct those questions to you as the chair of the financial committee?
yes,
And you would
Yeah.
come back and discuss it
We'll
with
come
that
back and
committee,
look, right.
which meets 3 to 4 times a year, it sounds like, the financial
Yeah,
committee,
we'll-
and then come back to the board with a recommendation.
sure. Yes, Edward Jones is a perfectly fine, large, organization. Could we have done better with someone else? Well, that's history in each case and perhaps, but Edward Jones at least is a local operation for us. I don't believe you can get Smith Barney or anyone
Yes,
else
as soon
locally,
as you
but
talk to the lawyer about whether we can release the dollar amounts in those.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten questions from the public
Sure.
as to what is the source of those funds that we
Yeah.
have in there.
I
The
just,
public would would like to know
Those-
what the source of
Yeah.
those funds is.
Those funds are accumulated, profit, I guess. That's surely not the right word, but accumulated money, that from the last, well, not quite 50 years, of the board, that's the net gain that ACCOA has, created. It came donations, stuff like that, that is not designated. I mean, if you make a donation, you can say, yes, I want this to go to the food bank. I want this to go to medical transportation. I want, if you don't do that, it falls into the board can decide what to do with it.
So it would be
And
safe-
right now,
If it would be safe to say that if we have 4 sources of income, fundraising, donations, grants, and millage, it would be safe to say that since I would assume most people would think all the millage funds are used every year, that those are
Yes.
not millage funds.
they're not.
And you're forgetting that there's also fee for service. So we also have, we
Oh,
have
yes,
programs that we
there's
make.
also,
that we bring in
people pay us for some of the services we do.
And I do believe I just explained with our board president, vice president, chair, just explained again what those pots were. But, again, the board decided to invest in balance towards growth in a 5-year track. And I don't believe that what you're saying as far as we lost money, because I do believe the returns from the previous years far exceed expectations. So
We'll take care of that in
I'm more than
committee.
happy to go over that.
Yeah,
I
we'll
have
go
that.
over
and-
I have the
we'll-
last 3 years fiscal reports that you gave us. I can give you those
Yes.
figures that
We'll-
show
we'll do-
exactly what I
We'll do
said.
that in committee, I think.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
all right. Let's see, so, that was the financial committee, this one, the new building committee, also met. SIDOC is ready to go ahead and expand. That is to take up the next step in the contract that we already have. There's from the Ethos Group, they have is it a proposal yet? It's
we're waiting on, waiting for.
they
the
gave us a
second
report
phase.
anyway,
Yeah, gave her-
about the source of more money to complete the project. Let's see, and we're moving forward with the request for qualifications. SIDOC is putting those out essentially now.
Well, you guys,
They would, except that we've now tabled the,
So that's gonna be, we are no longer able to do that because we tabled the side. on-
right, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
you're right.
so that is going to push this back
Okay,
to
so that will-
probably January.
mhm.
Okay. So. That's it,
I mean, we could
Good.
probably make December if there's a decision made on the 6th.
Yeah.
In time, but it would be close.
okay,
Are we going to get a floor plan on this senior center?
All of that will be
certainly,
given to you once they start that second phase of scope of work, but we tabled it.
But are we gonna get it in time to make changes?
yes,
If we wanna make changes?
absolutely, yes,
Okay.
as soon as you release SIDOC to go ahead, they will have. Shortly, anyway.
Maybe it would be fair to ask the
The
question, and
architect will take a few minutes, but, he'll send floor plans, and those plans are not final. They are, the first iteration. When I built my house, we drew the house.
maybe it'd be
2005.
fair to ask
So
a question.
there will be, there will be opportunity to
Okay,
review. If you look at the things on that contract, it says we will make preliminary drawings, we will talk to you, we will make another set of drawings and so forth.
That's the conceptual phase. We're
Right,
currently
yeah.
in the conceptual phase. And we'll be moving into the drawing and drafting phase with comment from the board and the committee and all the different things that they would do. But Mr. Leroy, I believe you had a question.
Yes, would it be fair to ask that, could we have an idea of what our ideas are that have been given to the architect? Because the architect asks you, okay, so what is it you want? What do you want in this building? Maybe we can have a preliminary drawing or a list of, what is it we even want in this building? What's going to be the purpose?
That was provided to the planning committee that you are now on. And then the next committee meeting, we could get you caught up to speed.
All right. Okay, and then, let's see, I also have, I'm sorry, my committee's met. The policy and procedures committee we'll have some recommendations. We have one, should we act on the employee compensation late cancellations? We do need to act on that today.
What?
The paying the employees for late cancellation.
That would be if the policy, if you guys develop a policy for that, so.
Okay, so we're not ready to do that.
If you
Okay.
haven't developed a policy for that, then.
Okay. We in the recent audit, we have had a internally an agreement to pay our workers when a participant cancels at the last minute. Just before the meeting, they pay the people because they're already there and ready. So it turns out there's no formal piece of paper, so we have to develop a policy, put it in the policy manual, and then the auditors will love us again. So we'll do these other things at probably the January meeting. The committee has suggestions about how to record the meetings, get them out where people can see them and so forth. Approve a few things, make a couple of patches in the bylaws. We'll get down to those things at the next meeting. So let's see. I think that exhausts all my committees. Did you have a
I
question?
can add a few things that we also discussed. We also discussed that I, as a board member, as far as I know, don't have any information as to how we're supposed to evaluate, on what criteria
Oh,
we're
yes,
supposed to
I'm sorry.
evaluate the executive director.
I'm sorry, I skipped over that one. Yeah.
Who, as part of our job duties, of course, that is
Mhm.
one evaluation of the executive director. I have no information on how
Yes.
I'm supposed to go about doing
Yeah,
that.
I have a note to refer that to the personnel committee. So no.
We also talked about the FOIA discussion, that I don't believe, at least from the minutes, that it has ever been discussed or ratified the policies.
Yeah, I skipped over that here.
And whether some changes need to be made to that.
Right.
We also talked about, in my opinion, from what I'm reading, that minutes are required to be taken of closed door meetings. So I had requested if there was any minutes for any closed door meetings, there weren't any. My understanding is that they should, but if someone wants to double check on that.
Yeah, we will.
We, probably more importantly, we also talked about someone in the public talked about is removing the signs in the building that say that masks are required for vaccinated, unvaccinated people. So we had actually, Leroy and I spoke to that point with Mike. We spoke about it in our committee. I believe without taking a formal vote, I think we were in favor of that. So I guess we probably need to have a motion in front of the board, whether we're going to remove those signs that say somebody who is not vaccinated has to wear a mask.
Has anything changed, Lenny?
Can we just do it, or do we have to have a motion to do it?
It's not the fact of just doing it because we have policies that we follow. It's not that somebody made a decision to slap this over. So the local health department we have to make sure that we reached out to NIMSCA as well as the local health department and still under the CDC guidelines, if there is. I believe the current language is masks are strongly suggested. But if you guys wish to amend the policy, we'll have to create a policy and then submit that to NIMSCA for review, that we're going to be changing the internal policies. And that also will affect for consideration our fees, our services as well.
So,
So-
am I understanding what you're saying, that this board is not able to decide whether we have these signs up or not? Is that correct?
I didn't say that. I said,
Oh, I'm
that
That we have to check with, we have to go through hoops. Is,
So we can't decide then.
we have to consult. We need to check with NIPSCO, the health department.
Who would be in charge of doing that? Could we do that as the policy and procedures, or is that the executive director that's going to do that? Do we need to have a motion on the board for him to proceed with that action?
I think it would be policies and procedure. One of us should do it.
Yeah, I think we can do it that way.
So.
so who's your vice
Do
chair?
we want to make a recommendation to the board? Because I think although we didn't have an official vote, that I think we were in agreement.
We concur.
Pursue that.
Yeah, we can certainly assign that to the policy committee.
And then one other thing we discussed at the policy procedures is what Mr. Scully was talking about with the issue when with the damage to the vehicle, we were discussing how that situation was handled. If there was a policy in place, that what Mr. Scully should have done, that apparently he was considered not to have done. Is there a policy that what would we have liked him to do so that he didn't have to be terminated in public, in his opinion? Do we have a policy in place for how the executive director should have handled that? Should he have taken him aside in a private room to let him know? Do we have a policy in place for that? So we're trying to figure that out.
Okay, I doubt that we have a policy for that, because it's a rare occurrence, but, we can develop one.
Because I think it would affect, for instance, Director Schlicker, who said she was driving that vehicle and the door flew open. What would ACCOA's insurance have taken care of that? Because it sounds like ACCOA's insurance did not take care of this similar accident with Mr. Scully. It was forced him to use his own insurance, even though it was an ACCOA vehicle, and he was in the process of using it for our purposes. So I'd be curious to see what our policies that they were followed when the executive director addressed it, called our insurance company to let them know that accident happened. You know, why was Mr. Scully, if this is the case, why was his insurance the primary as opposed to ours? And would the same thing happen to Dolores, if Director Schlicker, if she had gotten an accident, would this gone on her insurance as opposed to ACCOA? So I think it was kind of an interesting thing we're trying to figure out, aren't we?
I can speak to that if you like.
Yes,
There's a videotape
unfortunately.
of
it
the,
doesn't sound like
let me,
there's a
let me
videotape
finish, let me finish. There's a videotape of the incident, which was reviewed by the police of Mr. Scully leaving the scene. After that, it shows clearly the impact. It shows the vehicle entering the parking lot. It shows the point of impact, and it shows them walking away. So it also shows that the police or the report stated that the failure to let somebody know about an accident. So I don't know I don't know what the charge was on for fleeing the scene, but whatever. So then that video was provided to his insurance company, which deemed that he was at fault. So
Let's,
Actually,
back to Mr. Scully, let's take this to the committee.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay,
well, there's one more point that I would like to make on that. According to the body shop that did the repair, They said the damage came from the door of our vehicle.
Let's take this to the committee. And tell us that part. Yeah, I want to hear from you, but let's. Rather than.
Put his business in
Right,
order.
that's
Yep.
it,
I agree.
In public.
What
My
committee is
apologies,
that
Mrs.
gonna be under?
Grievance committee, I
Grievance
guess.
committee.
Okay.
Okay, that's all the committee reports.
No, we still have
Oh,
this
no,
one
No,
because yeah,
what is this one?
this is the meeting before the building and planning committee that we met with NIMCOG.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. This- This is the meeting on, yesterday, right?
So
Oh, no,
you want me to give that
Friday.
report?
Yeah, just because my voice is
Yeah,
wearing
I know.
down, we'll let Lenny read this one.
So 11/17, the new building and planning committee met. Chairperson is Will St. John. Committee members are Leroy Perrin, Will St. John, Mike Return, Jacqueline Swan, and Dan O'Connor. I was present as well as the executive director. Also, the information community assessment of needs, principal expert, that is Larry Monar, who was leading who has been leading the community needs assessment. And who did the work, the scope of work for the surveys. And then we also met with members of Northeast Michigan Council of Government, that's Denise Klein and Doug Baum. We discussed the overview of the project, the community center and the housing. We discussed any objectives to propose assistance for pre-development and post-development with NIMCOG. We discussed the projects do they align with the comprehensive economic development strategy, also known as CEDS. For NIMCOG. NIMCOG has regional goals, so we wanted to see if the project fit their regional goals and their objectives. We also wanted to find out if there was any matching funds from NIMCOGs or any other further funding sources that they could use in a party with this project. We also requested letters of support from NIMCOG and additional supports that was not presented in that meeting. Summary of the meeting, NIMCOG is extremely excited about our project and wants to get fully involved and behind our project. Both representatives agreed that the project fully aligns with the comprehensive economic development strategy, both in our community as well as the region, and believes that Oconee County will greatly benefit from the development. NIMCOG agrees to prospect for additional fundings for the project and will offer up a letter of support in the interim. NIMCOG has requested to be included in the biweekly meetings being held going forward in our committee. Jacqueline, you have anything you want to add? Anything I missed in that?
No, Denise was very excited. I work with her very closely as well with all those committees, so I think she's very valuable to ask that.
Right. So this is the regional fiduciary for most of the federal development grants, or just this particular community partner is what is responsible for most of the developments in northeastern Michigan, and now is in support and in working with us for this project.
Okay. Have I missed any other committee meeting? I think that was the last one. Okay,
Do we have anything for the building and grounds?
buildings and grounds,
We had another
I
proposal for the
didn't
trees.
get through to Rollins, so we'll do that as soon as we can.
What about the proposal for the trees? We have that. Can we do that now or?
Yeah. But tonight,
Oh, no, yeah, I think, yeah, let's talk about the trees. We have some trees that are that need to go away.
okay, I finally got, two more estimates, and it took a while to do it. A little help from the other end of the board there. As you notice, one from Rick, $1,500. That is if he cuts the trees down and leave everything here and we, clean it up. Which I'd be willing to
Anybody need
do,
water?
I'd like to have
Yeah, please.
some
Thank you.
volunteers to do it. Which I doubt.
Yeah.
Water?
And then the one I just, came in today. Is, Brian Mackey. And I guess he lives just down around the corner here. $2,500. And that's to remove, all the wood and that. My, thought on taking these trees down, the big stuff that you can set up for, firewood and that.
Mhm.
Stack it up here in the corner of the building and put a sign on it, free wood. Because we can't sell it. We could take donations, but we can't put anything up for sale. And that's my thought, and, Rippon's Sun Tree Service is pretty much the same, price in that, and so, right now, I think it's probably a little late, dining in stone stuff. So I feel for, just taking everything down, they remove the small stuff, we keep the wood. And back it up, like I said, if you want to do that.
We would haul the brush away.
You know, the 2,500,
Yeah, they would, but I mean, on the cheaper one, we'd have to haul the brush away.
On the cheapest,
yeah.
You wouldn't want to, with the bigger stuff that you could use for the,
Mhm.
firewood.
Does the 1,500 one include stump removal? It is not, is that correct?
Yes.
Grind stumps.
Grind the stump,
Oh,
and
grind
leave all the
stumps,
brush
okay.
and
Yeah. Okay.
in a pile.
And what's your recommendation, Ron?
Well, I'm not going to count on volunteers. Because I don't think I get too many of them.
Mhm.
So I, either, Rick or, Rick.
John.
I'm
Rick or
sorry,
John?
John Matthews.
Okay. I happen to know Griff because he's taking down trees for me. I don't know, Mass, is he licensed and bonded and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, then we, and is there any price difference?
Exactly the same.
Not a whole lot, there's only be a few dollars if there is.
Okay.
Well, the other one from Griff is. Yeah.
About the same price, really.
Okay. I'd take a, well, we can discuss more, or I could entertain a motion for hiring someone.
For
The
new
trees need to
people
come
here.
down.
For the new people here, the reason why I, recommend taking these trees down is because the top are pretty well dead. And, line going right through it. And there's a cement platform out there to set the generator on. The storm comes up and it's pretty lucky so far, since I've been on it for it. Very happy on it. But I hate to take the chance to leave them there and put the generator in and they have a storage. And those limbs comes down across that generator.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
recommend taking the whole tree out, both of them.
Yeah.
If we could table this maybe till our December meeting, I can find out, I'm almost positive that if somebody can cut the tree down, we could go with Rick's tree and stump removal, because I know I can get my son-in-law, I can get a couple great big trailers. We can take the brush up to Viking Energy,
That'd be good.
but I'd want to check into that for sure.
Make sure.
We don't. have
And
a
we would take the wood.
No, we do not
But,
have a regular December meeting.
Pardon?
We don't have a
do not
regular.
have
December
a
meeting.
regular December meeting.
You can table it to January if you like.
We could, okay,
We can't table it to January because we have to, by January
Yep.
13th, have the placement for the generator set.
Yep.
They need to be gone by January 13th. Remember, I mean, that's what Roland had said. Roland had said that the last time, the last meeting, we had to get it out.
I was told that, I think the people that set the generator have, couple limbs, cut down, it's more over this way. And the whole tree doesn't work, so have a storm, the whole tree comes off.
We do, I think because we have generators scheduled to come in. Need to make a decision.
Excuse me.
are we not gonna meet in December then?
It's
No.
only a special meeting.
Special
We only
meeting
need to make
for
One thing.
the, purpose of discussing the site on contract.
That's all we're meeting for.
And either one of these, people in place, sure, would probably take the shoulder to, like in energy.
Right.
My next door neighbor, he had a whole bunch of trees taken down. And he all, his, tree limbs over
When can these guys do the job? Either one
there. I
of
don't
these,
know, that's one of the problems now.
yeah.
They're all busy.
So and if they can't do it,
Gotta get in line someplace. We don't. They can't do it, then. We'll just have to leave it, I guess.
Okay. So do I have a motion to hire any one of these people?
I'll just make a motion, Matthews. He's just right around the corner. He's right on 72 down there by the school. But he's really close.
Yeah, okay. And he's one of the $2,500.
Right.
Guys who will
Stump
take care of
removal,
things.
take everything away.
They'll split the logs, so they'll go in people's houses, in people's fireplaces or.
No, they'll take the wood
everything.
away. They'll take it all away.
All the way. Okay,
Yeah, the two for $2,500 will take it all down, take it all away and grind the stumps.
and it'd be over with.
Yeah,
okay,
done and
stump
over with.
removal though, can you do that this time of year?
Oh, yeah.
we can grind them. Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to hire Matthews
I'll
to
second.
take the trees out.
Okay, we're gonna have to have. A motion and then a roll call on spending the money.
Yes. Yeah, we've just got a second. So,
This is
Anyone
a roll
else?
call vote.
yeah, anyone else have anything to say, or are we ready to do it? Well,
I think that we should do it with the idea that he understands it has to be done by the
Right away.
5th of January.
okay,
I think.
I think that's.
I
good.
think
Is that
that's
a-
reasonable to be clear.
Yeah,
with
is that
him.
a, okay,
And I think he'll jump in.
amendment to your motion, Leroy?
Yeah, with,
Okay. And
yeah,
your
with the understanding
seconder-
he can have it done by the 5th of January.
And your
Yeah.
seconder,
And Jacqueline
Okay.
seconded.
okay,
So what was the motion again?
okay, we have a motion to hire Mr. Matthews to take down the trees. With a deadline of January 5, right?
And five.
So that it's clear for the generators to come in.
Okay, roll
Okay.
call.
Roll call vote.
Okay, Roland,
Yes,
Dr. T,
Yes.
Dolores,
Yes,
Will,
Yes,
Leroy,
Yes,
Dan,
yes.
Dan, yes.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, yeah.
okay,
All right.
all righty, we'll get rid of those trees, yay. Okay,
Leroy,
Yes.
you wanna, tell Mr. Matthews?
Here's
Uh,
his number.
Yeah, sure, I can contact him.
Pardon?
Yeah, I'll contact him.
Okay. Okay. All righty, and let us know if for some reason he can't,
Oh,
can't
absolutely.
do it, but yeah.
He's eager.
Okay.
Could I make one more, I don't know, motion or whatever on the building and the grounds? I've had, a lot of people come to me and ask about the, surveillance cameras. Very uncomfortable working under the cameras. I'd make a motion that, we get those cameras removed. And, I don't believe they're necessary. I totally agree with all the cameras outside, all the security, absolutely. But I don't think, employees being surveilled all the time is necessary. So I would, I guess, make a motion to remove those.
Okay,
I would second.
okay. Discussion,
I was going through the minutes for the last 3 years and the first month, the current executive director came in January of 2020, he made a recommendation of 4 new cameras needed to be put in. And since then, I have never seen any other discussion by the board in the minutes, no motions by the board since then, just so that you know where we stand as far as that goes.
yeah, that would not be an ordinary board business, thing, putting in cameras is part of running the operation and not a not something that would normally rise to the board's attention. My understanding of the cameras that are in the building currently there is audio at the entrances for safety concerns, as Leroy points out. The rest of the cameras have no audio, and they are there from my understanding for security as well. There are 2 people who have general access to those. Robin at the main door downstairs, and the director.
And our IT,
I'm sorry. And of course, our IT
and the sheriff's department.
folks and the sheriff's department can all see those. So,
Was there a discussion at the Building and Grounds Committee about this?
no,
We didn't have a meeting.
no, we haven't had.
Oh, you have not had.
We have not had a full meeting.
Is one scheduled? Because it seems like something that.
We will
would be
schedule one.
maybe
We-
best
yeah.
discussed in committee and then brought to.
Probably so, yeah. That would be my recommendation, to take it to committee, but I have a motion on the floor. So,
I would move to amend it until the next board, Building and Grounds Committee did a little bit more research on that, but with having said that, I've heard the same thing, Director Perrin, numerous people that had speculated how uncomfortable that would be to work under surveillance at all times.
okay, we'll take that into consideration, certainly. Leroy, are you happy to kick it to committee, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Alrighty, so we will, we need to dispose of the motion, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you care to
I
withdraw the
withdraw
motion?
that motion.
All right, so, the board is in agreement that we will send this off to the Buildings and Grounds Committee for discussion
Yes.
and a resolution. Okay. And a recommendation back from that committee about what to do about it. Okay,
Has the audio been shut off, right?
A long time ago.
oh,
But was it done?
yes,
As I thought. Okay.
yeah, there's no internal audio.
Okay.
Okay. The only audio is at the entrances for safety problems, and I suspect we'll all agree that that's a good idea.
Okay.
And we want to want to hear if someone is coming in really angry or something, that's what we might want to share, so. Okay, so we're on to old business,
You already covered that, I think.
the various contracts that were requested are in the board book. That's all of the old business that I have. And, new business, we have tabled. So we won't, be doing that. So we're back to, public comment. Let me get my official timer back here, and we will open this up. For, further public comment. Who would like to speak?
Hi, Pam McKinnon from Lincoln.
Yes.
I'm not sure if the lady that mentioned Dan O'Connor's position here or not, but when I first started coming to the meetings, I wasn't quite sure why he was involved either. I think it's a great asset that he does attend the meetings. And he is the go-between. It isn't that he has voting rights or anything like that. It's the fact that he informs us where we might not get information concerning what's going on with the younger people in our lives. So I think that his place at the board meetings is very important for that reason.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure Dan will be. Will be pleased.
I think
Yes.
there's time and place for Dan to be at different meetings in the
Mhm.
community. I don't think the Commission on Aging, specifically aging, has anything to do with.
Doesn't about it's the seniors.
Okay, then I don't feel that seniors should be living in a facility with young people. I don't feel that's the correct place to house seniors. I think my grandma, who lived in the senior center downstate, she felt very secure, very safe until they started letting in. And there's nothing against these people, but making the housing for the lower income or the disabled or the young people. She felt comfortable in a situation where there were people her age, walking in late at night, things like that. She did not feel comfortable as the,
I understand.
yes, as the clientele changed. So that, I was just asking the board considers the real, what you're here for with the aging, that they have a very different take on it. Not everybody has grandkids in the area, and a daughter in the area and all that to still work at a community center or whatever, but the housing situation, it's huge, these older people.
I'm thinking about us being able to get the information of what's going on in our school.
I have never been one, yeah, we're gonna have to.
It's one at a time, but let's go back to, let's go back. Yes,
Sharon Hughes from Harrisville, and I just want you to know that we would prefer that you start the senior center. You know how building costs are going up. You can't guarantee to us that you're gonna have enough funds for everything, so prioritize before anybody signs that the senior center gets started and you have enough funds for that before you start any outside activity of the building housing.
thank you. Yes,
Brenda Gray, Harrisville, a couple things. One of the things that I'm curious about is how much money has been spent so far total for this project. Just a running total, how much is on the table. And then secondly, I'm a little concerned about the board's voting to put this in an Edwards Jones account. Edwards Jones works for himself. They're out to make money. They're not a fiduciary, so they're not taking ACCOA as personal. They want to make their money. And secondly, I'd like to know how much they lost last year. And why wasn't the board jumping on that when the first couple indicators of inflation? to say, hey, move this money out before we lose more. And thirdly, you mentioned the current budget about the same as last year. Well, what's the number? And then how come you didn't figure in 9% or more inflation into that budget?
Could I
Thank you.
make one comment to this
Sure.
lady?
Mhm.
I specifically asked the Edward Jones lady, if we put this money in this account, what happens if the economy goes haywire? Are we gonna lose a lot of this money? She said, no, if we put it in the money market, it is safe. We're not gonna lose anything, but we do have to gain, but it might be a slower gain.
Money
But we
market's-
cannot lose.
Money market's
She's-
different than where it's been for the last 3 years.
Yes, but I'm talking the 12 million that, or 6 million,
Yeah,
whatever it
she-
was we put in there.
I understand
You're,
that.
you're
That-
actually
that-
talking about different money.
Why didn't the board take action prior? Because we all saw this coming for the last year. That's every few months.
With the existing funds that existed before this most recent grant.
Because you're not tied up. I mean, you could have moved those funds as soon as we looked at the inflation.
Think about the money that they release.
And if we had been really smart, we would have, but, you know,
But it's important because now.
it's
you're-
important.
we're turning into
I
a
agree, but you're asking,
multi-million-dollar project,
but you're asking us to be smarter than the market.
No,
that's
I'm
hard.
not- I'm asking you to look at it quickly before it gets already 25% down.
Rich Gray, Harrisville. I did look up the mask issue in Alcona. It's not an issue. Mask requirements per the CDC for Alcona County and Michigan are this. We are at a median level. If you are at a high risk for severe illness, talk to your healthcare provider about whether or not you need to wear a mask and take other precautions. Stay updated on your COVID-19 vaccines. Get tested if you have symptoms. People may choose to mask at any time. People with symptoms of positive test or exposure to someone with COVID should wear a mask. Doesn't say that we have to have signs. So there's your answer on that. Number two. Throughout this meeting, I heard so that you can understand. And I appreciate that you want us to understand, Mr. Avery, that you are in the presence of doctors, nurses, engineers, physicians, and several other professions. We have an understanding of what's going on. We understand budgets. We understand what you've told us. Our problem is we see clear enough to see that this is not just about aging. This is about an entire community, and we love the community. We are asking that you use the people you wanted to bring to talk to us today. And I'm sorry we didn't get to hear that. But if they would have been able to produce that for us, we would see they could take care of that need. And you could take care of the need that you volunteered to take care of when you were voted to this board and when you were hired to your position. Please look at what you're called to do and do that. And secondary, if there's funds left over to do the others, by all means do it. And we'll support you in that. We want, number one, the aged community taken care of.
Thank you.
Lisa Turek,
Yes.
Harrisville Township. I'm gonna call a little bit on what Rich said about you hired, what job you were hired to do. The job description for the executive director for the ACCOA asks for a 4-year degree in accounting, management, or a related business field. However, I believe the executive director has represented himself having a degree in law or government, but the truth is Southern Louisiana University, where he went to school, doesn't have a law program or a government program, but they do have a political science program, which I think is what your degree is actually, and it's in political science. And in the political science curriculum, there's not a single business, there's not a single accounting, there's not a single management class, there's some English, mathematics, history, political science, natural science, and other. So I would suggest that either you misrepresented to the board when you were hired what actually qualifications you did have to hold this position, or the board hired somebody who didn't have qualifications for the job as executive director. And that they hired somebody who did not have a degree, even though that this is what their qualifications are, he's a 4-year degree in one of those things, which our executive director here at the ACCOA does not have. So I don't know whether or not that those qualifications are actually going to be good enough to handle this big project or handle the ACCOA. Thank you.
Jessica Dobbs, Birds Township. Are you your name already? I'm sorry. Rich, thank you. He was talking about the signs on the door. As of August 11th of 2022, the CDC came out with new guidelines saying unvaccinated people have the same guidance as vaccinated people. If you are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, right? So why the sign saying if you're unvaccinated, mask up? No, thank you. I also wanted to comment on the fact that the board is more than capable to change decisions that past boards had made with new information that they receive from the public or corporations they're working with or whatever. They are not beholden to having to ram things through. Sorry, Jeff. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
But they don't have to ram things through if they don't agree with it, if they're questioning it, things like that. They are more than welcome to change their mind. They're more than welcome to be like, well, I have this new information. The public doesn't want healthy. Maybe we should listen to that. Just maybe. Anyways. And I also was curious, when are you planning on breaking ground for this new fantastical endeavor? The new ground being broken, you would think when building a house that you would come up with some plans and then you would be like, all right, let's find some, land that suits these plans and then go kind of from there and not be like, well, we're just kind of theorizing and, doing all this, but we'll have plans as soon as we move to the next phase. It's kind of like when Congress passes the bill saying, yeah, you don't have time to read that bill until you pass it. You don't get to know what's in that bill until you pass it. Like, what? Anyways, a lot of confusion going on here, a lot of unheard voices being thrown against a wall, unfortunately. This is the council, for aging. So take care of the aging. Everybody else can take care of themselves. I'm here because I want to eventually be able to rely upon the Alcona County Commission on Aging. Like eventually I'm going to get old, hopefully, God willing. And so I would like a respectable board to take care of me at that time. And until then, I would like to help where I can to ensure that happens. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all you do.
I apologize for my previous comment on, I showed too much anger, and I apologize for that. But isn't it amazing when you think about this? We went from building a nice, modern, up-to-date senior center for about $1.5 million, give or take, into 12, 13, 14, how many ungodly millions of dollars for a start, and then drifted from a senior center into a god-awful big, huge, humongous project. We hired surveyors. I know about surveying. I did it. Surveyors from where, God knows where. When you have local surveyors that could have done it, they wouldn't need board and room and board and travel and all that stuff. And I know I have an idea and what's probably going to be the answer. But why would anyone sign a contract that gives a spare this big, huge difference of what the least cost or the most cost was going to be? Why would anybody do that? Because that opens it up to all kinds of bad things, especially when you're dealing with the government. That's an open sesame door to them. And you can find history all over the country. And so, again, I implore you on the board. This contract that's supposed to have been signed, was anything in that contract that gave you the ability to cancel the contract
and start over again? That's a one question. Number two. This has to be the senior center building. Not a community center, a community hub. That is not what we voted for. This is not what we were asked to do. And what we're hearing on this meeting here from the director, it's signed, it's done, we're gonna do it, and that's final, because we signed a contract. Now, wait a minute here. Stop and think about this. You're getting yourself involved in millions and millions of dollars. Not $1.5 million. You're allowing something to take place. As far as we're seeing, I'm not gonna. Without any real input, you don't even know what the hell kind of a building you want. And yet you're hiring architects to build something, you don't even know what you want, so that every time you want to make a change, the architect says, sure, it'll cost me another $10,000. That's happened many, many times, with government stuff. They sign a low bid contract, so they get their nose in the door. And then every time you want to make a change, oh, okay, add another cost plus. I say, you have to consider, please consider, that this contract, these contracts that were signed are going to be a danger to this community. And unless you get control of it, because folks, every one of you on the board are ultimately responsible for the millions of dollars. And if you feel that you cannot handle it, if you feel you can't handle it, or get somebody in charge who can handle it, and you are going to be responsible for all this stuff. And it's serious stuff. When you agreed to allow him to sign contract, did you really look at them contracts? I mean, really look at it. Look at the property. He talks about property available and landscaping and stuff. I looked at that property in Lincoln over here. You talk about that's all wooded. You know how much the dollars or thousands of dollars it takes to clear land with a bulldozer and pulper guy coming in there and make the land available? Did anybody think about that kind of stuff? Oh, no worry, we got $12 million to work with. Who cares? I'm saying you folks better get it together. Or I'm saying this, and I'm no prophet, believe me. This could very well enter in another Katona deal.
Amen.
Very easily. Because when you get the millions of dollars that are involved, you open it up to corruption, regardless of the good intentions. And you can already see, the money that they've already spent, that has already been spent with, according to the director, your approval. Already spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And he does that. You folks don't even really know what kind of a building they're even going to build. They got pictures on the wall. I've done engineering drawings. I know what they are. They are just a drawing. But where has been the input from the people on what to hit the building? Really, what services do you want from the building, for example? Have you taken a local, not somebody from Detroit or somebody doing these surveys? Have you really looked at this stuff, really planned? This is already, this whole money is already out there with no real plan. I see a drawing, but they're already changing the drawing. But every time you do it, the architect's going to hit you for another thousands of dollars. You should have had the plan to begin with. And you've allowed it to slip away from $1.5 million building that everybody would approve of and enjoy. We'd have to be able to operate the thing into a project and already going into multiple millions of dollars. Now you can't, I don't think you can persuade most of us, if you really present the facts, as I'm stating, that will agree that this project is what anybody wants. I mean, the people themselves. And we're not retro based from out in the hills someplace, that's just dropped off a turnip truck. Don't look down on us. And suppose that we don't know what we're doing. Yeah, we've all had experiences. We've all dealt with buildings and projects and billion-dollar engineering projects. I said that the last time. And I'm getting emotional here because I see down the road, if this is not stopped by you and the board and start pulling back and start reanalyzing what you're getting us into. Don't listen to all the propaganda that's being presented. Don't listen to PowerPoints. I did PowerPoints, untold number of PowerPoints when I was working. You know what we did with them? After the meeting, we went to a good restaurant and had a steak dinner on the company. Meanwhile, the PowerPoint went in the trash can. Because this is the reality that you both better straighten up. I'm saying, please, you better redirect yourself in your thinking. Or you're gonna be involved in something that you're gonna wish to hell you never got involved in. All because all we wanted was a senior center, modern building. And we're ending up with all this, people angry and questions about money and where it's coming from and where it's going. And signed contracts. Every one of us in this room have signed contracts. We know what contracts are. And I'm saying you folks might have agreed to something you didn't realize that you agreed to. You might want to really think about this. And I say again, is there anything way to cancel them damn contracts until you sit back and really plan and what you really want and what services you really want to provide for the senior citizens, not a great big huge community project. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Tamara Quick from Harrisville, Ames Township. And this is my first meeting, and having been a director and having had to answer to a board, having written minutes for many, many years, and now as a township clerk, I just I have more questions now than I had when I came today. And I am embarrassed for you as a board. I know and respect many of you, but today just to me wasn't very professional, and I'm sorry, don't take it personal, but as a board and how some of you spoke to the board members, and things that are coming out that are not in the minutes, you have to follow Robert's Rules of Orders, and any decisions that your board makes must be in the minutes. Minutes are permanent records. Minutes should be available to everyone. And I know as a township clerk, they have to be available within so many business days after my meetings to the public. So I have to make sure I have that huge responsibility to prepare those. And I don't see that really being done here, or all your decisions are in the minutes. And I don't think board members are given enough time to review their packets. I just see, and I want to say that I think as board members, you might not understand everything that's being done. And that really scares me. I think I might now fall into that senior center or senior citizen category, perhaps. I don't need to give my age. But I just know back in the day, this was such a fun place for seniors to come to have a good meal, to hang out, to play cards, to visit together. And I know that COVID kind of squashed that. And I think that you just opened that up again, Lenny, because of the people and the public speaking up and out, that the seniors weren't even able to come and meet in person. I understand it for a while, but it's time. And I've heard from senior centers themselves, they're not citizens, they're not comfortable coming here. So why isn't it? I just have so many questions. Budgets. Okay, I worked in prevention since 2009. We had a budget that we had to adhere to. We had line items in our budget. We couldn't just move things from one category to another. And I'm hearing that people are signing checks. I really don't know what those expenses are for. those need to be itemized. I mean, that's just simple. I would never go to my township meeting and send them, ask them to pay a bill if I did not have a copy of the receipt and explain what that was for. And for a lot of things, we don't, well, for everything that we pay, just so you know, the board has to approve all those expenses too, before we can even sign checks. And I know, having written a lot of grants myself, that grants can be very specific, and you can only spend that money for the way the grant was written. So it concerns me that this is called a community hub. I know the definition of a workforce grant, and I don't see anything that says this is going to be a senior center. And that's what we, the citizens in Alcona County, have done by passing a millage and spending our money on a millage. That millage is for a senior center. And I honestly, I don't have the research, like how long we've been paying that millage, so I have a question about that. I think that's it. I just plead with you. I plead with you as a board to please just build a senior center. That's all we've been asking for. We need as a community. And I don't even think that you have gone to the people. You have to go to the people that you're serving to ask what their needs are, to meet their needs. Not going to public events, but every senior center in this county should have received a survey so that they could provide input on their needs. And we know that we need a new senior center. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Someone,
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a second. Okay. Those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Meeting over.